Hey guys, how are you all? Welcome back to my channel. Today we will see what if Naruto has Madara power. If you enjoy then please like, share and do comments. Madara's legacy. The Uchiha clan, they are a group of powerful and dangerous shinobi. They are skilled in all areas of the ninja art and the holder of the all-powerful Sharingan or the copy wheel eye. The Sharingan, like its namesake, is able to copy any jutsu, fighting style and genjutsu, even handwriting. The Uchiha's personality is detested among other shinobi because they act like they are far superior to other shinobi. Their pride and arrogance is legendary. But then there is Madara Uchiha, one of the founders of the village hidden in the leaves, or is now known as Konoha. He is everything that the Uchiha are. He is powerful, strong enough to fight evenly with the Shodem Hokage or Hashirama Senju. But that is for later. He is everything that the Uchiha are. That is what history books in Konoha says. Well, they had to tone it down. His true personality was hidden behind a facade of an asshole. He was actually a carefree kind of guy, who strangely enough happens to get along with the Nidaime Hokage Tobirama Senju, who has a great sense of humor. Because of the clan's hatred of each other, it was a secret friendship, even if Tobirama happens to make fun of the Uchiha, calling them evil right in front of Madara's face. Hell, the best time he had with his friend was messing with Hashirama. The worst they did to him was stating the village namesake. Hashirama wanted something more intimidating. He obtained the next level of the Sharingan that was even further than the Mangekyo, which is called Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan. Before he obtained this eye, the current Mangekyo's power has blinded him, and his brother Izuna has given his Mangekyo to end his blindness. He wanted his clan to be in peace, and because of Madara being a better shinobi, he hoped that Madara will save the Uchiha. In history, it was stated that Madara took his brother's eyes away from him. In history it was stated that Madara stated that the Senju were planning to weaken the Uchiha clan, which was practically true. He pleaded with his clan to leave the village, but the rest of the clan has stated that they will use this opportunity to weaken the Senju clan. Madara was fed up with his clan members' arrogance and went against his clan by stating what the Uchiha clan was planning to do to his friend and his brother. The Senju brothers took it fairly quite well. Tobirama came up with a plan to give the Uchiha a position of Konoha military police force, which will keep the Uchiha out of the council. This got questionable looks from Madara and Hashirama, stating, "That is the smartest thing that ever came out of your mouth." But that was just half of the plan, which was now Hashirama's plan after that. The other half is getting rid of Madara. Then Madara started openly went against the Senju clan to make him look bad and openly left the village after the Uchiha clan abandoned him. Then there was the battle at the Valley of the End, where Madara and Hashirama had fought against each other one more time. In history, it was stated that Madara was killed by Hashirama, which was again partially true. He did kill Madara, to the village's point of view. It was actually a friendly all-out duel between two rivals. Who really won? No one knows beside the two. What happened then was not known to Konoha. He traveled around the elemental nations for quite a while and avoided the first shinobi war after Hashirama gave the tailed beast away, but he knew that they were actually huge amount of chakra in a shape of animals, but because they cause destruction they are known as demons. They are just chakra, and chakra needs to be contained. They were actually looking for hosts before they diminish away, which will take a very long time to fade away. But there were some problems with sealing them. Because the chakra is sealed in a container, they develop a personality depending on the container. If the container is calm, then the chakra will just be chakra. But if the container had a hard life, then the personality will change into a demon. Sealed the right way, then it will just be chakra for the container. Again, he traveled and fought against many people, even some cages. He even kept a close eye on the tailed beast. He kept an extra eye on the Kyuubi. The Kyuubi is such an everlasting amount of chakra, it was difficult to have that huge mass of chakra contained. During his travels he became the Sandaime Mizukage. Why he became a kage? Well, he wanted to know what it felt like to rule a village, but then again he was an Uchiha, so he had to be kept hidden. Madara spent some time to the neighboring country, which was Whirlpool country, ruled by the Uzumaki. A strong clan that holds connections to the Senju clan with a high affinity to water, and some of them were able to use ice, he found out later on. He got very close to one of the woman named Yuki Uzumaki, who gave birth to a daughter he named Kushina, and she carried her mother's name Uzumaki. He was happy to know he has a family that isn't arrogant or prideful. But it was not meant to be. One of the Mizu ninja found out who he was, and it didn't help that he was the holder of the three tails and holds a great hatred against bloodlines. He had no choice but to leave the village. The next Yondaime Mizukage had a huge hatred against bloodline users and used the village to destroy the Whirlpool country. Madara did all he could to save the Whirlpool's people. After he saved what he can, he searched for his daughter Kushina and found out she went to Konoha and didn't mind that she went to Konoha. He visited her a few times to help her train or get to know her. Both agreed that Kushina wouldn't use her Sharingan and was told the true history of Konoha, which she enjoyed his stories of him messing with the Shodan. During his time he helped rebuild the Whirlpool country in secret and found 3 individuals in AIM named Nagato, a holder of the legendary Rinnegan, Yahiko, a kid with a dream to rule a village, and a blue-haired girl named Konan that is able to manipulate paper. He found out they were trained by the legendary Sannin Jiraiya and decided to take them to Whirlpool and train them properly. They are happy with their new home. He took dangerous missions to fund the Whirlpool country. But then the civil war in Mist started. The Yondaime Mizukage, who is the container of the three-tailed beast, has openly started a war with bloodline users. Madara and his band of shinobi saved as many bloodline users they can. He even recruited 2 of the 7 swordsmen. One is named Zabuza Momochi and he is going to be a father. The mother happens to be a bloodline user from the Hitsugaya clan. Sorry I had to put that there. So he agreed to join the Whirlpool village. The other member is the shark man Kisame Hoshigaki. He was glad to know that the Sandaime Mizukage is alive, is very honored to serve him again. The rest of the 7 swordsmen either left the village or stayed, which it turns out that 3 hated bloodlines. Madara ended up killing 2 of them when he saved the Kagaya clan, the ones that aren't bloodthirsty or warmongers, and Hitsugaya clan. Once everyone is settled in Whirlpool, everything is going peacefully, but then again another problem came, and it came in the form of the container of the Kyuubi. He went to investigate what is wrong with the seal and found out the chakra is leaking out and tearing apart the seal. He had little time to find a seal master to seal the chakra away. He searched the elemental nation to find only one seal master, and he is the Yondaime Hokage. A nice guy with the will of fire the Senju brothers were talking about. In Konoha, we find Madara watching his daughter caressing her stomach, and he knew that she is with a child. He walked over to her and took off his orange mask with a spiral pattern, when he sensed no one else is around. "I see you are carrying a child, I see," Madara said behind Kushina and scaring the life out of her. Don't do that to San. You know how much I hate that." Kushina fumed at her father, who should be dead by now. "I know, that's why I do it." He chuckled a bit at her fuming daughter, then his face became serious. "I came here with some good news and bad news," he said to her, and told her he finished rebuilding the Whirlpool country and found a good Shodan named Yahiko, who is a strong, good-intentioned person who will become strong enough to be the Shodan of Whirlpool soon. He also told her that Yahiko married Konan after they got settled in and decided to carry the name of Uzumaki to honor the rulers that once ruled the land, which Kushina agreed with. But then he came with the bad news of the Kyuubi is about to burst out of its container, and the Yondaime is the only one who is able to seal it away. "Are you sure there is no one else?" Kushina asked her father, who shook her head, and she looked down at her stomach cradling her child. "Is this the only way? If we just let the Kyuubi roam around, it will try to find a container, but it will just destroy everything it sees," Madara said as he to look at her stomach. "Boy or girl?" Kushina smiled when her father asked. "A girl. Minato and I agreed naming her Naruto." Madara looked confused. "Fish cake?" Kushina nodded while holding back her laughter. "Fish cake? Please tell me this is a joke?" Now Kushina was laughing at her father's unbelievable face. "Sorry, her name is a double meaning, fish cake in Maelstrom," Kushina said, reassuring her father. "Maelstrom sounds better than fish cake." Madara had a thoughtful look. "How long till you give birth?" Kushina understood what her father was asking of her. "I'll give birth to little Naruto-chan in 2 weeks." Madara nodded and said his goodbyes to her. "I'll try to hold back Kyuubi as much as possible," he said before teleporting away to Whirlpool. Kushina didn't know whether this was for the better. She knew what the tailed beasts are and hoped that her father knew what he was doing. "In Whirlpool? Well, yeah, then my power can flood the whole village." Madara heard from the other side of the door, which is the Cage's office. They haven't decided what to call the Cage seat or the elites, but he is close. Madara entered the office to see Yahiko and Nagato were arguing again. Yeah, well, my power can engulf the whole country. Nagato countered in their argument and Madara wanted to see how this would end. This usually happens when they have to decide with something and both were in opposite sides. This usually ends when they outtalk the other. Well, yeah, my power can ascend to the sky. Yahiko countered. Madara saw Konan watching as well with an amused look. My power far passes the clouds. Nagato countered, raising his voice. Well, my power will soar to the sky, break the bounds of gravity and punch the face of God. Yahiko said while pumping his fist in the air dramatically. Konan's sweat drop at his statement and Nagato is a bit speechless at that remark, unable to counter it. He got you there, Nagato. Madara said, gaining their attention. Ah, Madara-senpai, how long were you there? Yahiko asked as he went back to sitting the cage chair, which was made with the best material so he won't have a sore ass at the end of the day of doing paperwork, which he now regrets, but he still wants to protect his new home. Enough to hear you say something about punching the face of Kami. Madara said as Yahiko had to sheepishly scratch his back. We were deciding what to do with the academy students on how to train them properly. Konan said, who gave the scroll on how to train the would-to-be genin. Madara gave the position of the cage's advisors to Konan and Nagato while Yahiko ruled the village as cage, which everyone agreed with. Madara read the scroll to find that this would be just right for the village. In the first year it starts out as basic chakra control with holding a leaf to their heads, basic taijutsu and ninjutsu. Then there is a bit of history on every village and kunai and shuriken practice. The second year is the same thing with the exception on chakra exercises and then help improve with the basics and a bit less on history. The third year has extras with teaching about setting traps, infiltration and stealth, and then with handling weapons. Then came the fourth year, it starts with stamina exercises and increasing chakra reserves, chunin level taijutsu with C-level ninjutsu and understanding genjutsu. Then he found out that they stopped teaching about history but review the monthly bingo book. The fifth year is the same as the fourth year with the exception of stealth and tracking exercises. The last year got his attention. The academy will start teaching the students on element manipulation exercises with more on stamina and chakra exercises. All in all, it was perfect. He compared this academy with Konoha's academy and knew that Whirlpool's genin will be low chunin level ninja when they leave the academy. If he wasn't in front of his 3 students he would happily cry a river, but he must be professional. So why the argument? Madara asked the two and wondered why one would question this type of academy. Nagato here wants to put in a medical academy as well. We were deciding where to put it. Yahiko said, and Madara understood the need or medical ninja. Hell with his Sharingan, he can be the best medic nin in the world. But he has already learned enough in the world. Ah, what the hell. He might as well learn something new. Well, who has enough knowledge on medical jutsu? Madara asked and remembered all the medical scrolls he borrowed from other villages, and most of them came from Konoha he has in the new hidden vault. Well, I have some knowledge in medical jutsu. Konan spoke up. Not to mention Sasori has knowledge as a medical nin, but he stopped learning them after he turned himself into a puppet. Everyone shivered at that thought. Madara remembered when he recruited Sasori of the Red Sand. The man left his village after he killed the cage. Madara didn't argue with that. He knew that man loved war and would start another shinobi war. Both had a small conversation and Sasori agreed with being a shinobi of Whirlpool country in the condition of teaching puppetry. He would be the right person to start recruiting in the 4th year. Whoever has great control with their chakra can choose whether or not if they want to learn medical jutsu. Madara stated, and the 3 had to agree with that logic. They were about to continue on with the academy plan until someone entered the room through the floor to reveal a huge Venus flytrap that opened up to reveal an odd sight. Inside is a man whose skin is half white and half black. His hair is short green. Madara-senpai, Kino-kun is acting weird and looks very sick. The white half said, who looked worried. Kyuubi is about to break free. The other half said in a deep voice. I see Zetsu. We will have to get back on this later. I will need your help with the Kyuubi. Madara said, and the 3 nodded with Konan writing something in a piece of paper. Then it turned into an origami and flew off. What was that for Konan? Yahiko asked Konan before she glared at him, and he cowered at that glare. You haven't forgotten that we have a newborn daughter at home now, have you? Konan said, giving Yahiko an evil glare. Madara remembered the time that Konan broke all of Yahiko's fingers when giving birth to little Mai. Poor Yahiko had a hard time doing paperwork the next day. No, I was just a bit exhausted from paperwork. Yahiko said, hoping that will ease up his wife. Sure, he is powerful, but an angry wife is unbeatable no matter how long or hard you look at it. Thankfully she bought it. Well, I just sent a message to the babysitter to let her know that we will be gone for a while. Konan said as she went towards Madara, who was getting ready to teleport them. 2 days later. Kino-kun was the nicest kid I ever met. The white half of Zetsu said and tried to hold back his tears. Don't you dare cry on me. The black half of Zetsu said, trying to keep his kind side from crying. But we had great times with each other. We played hide and seek, he made the most delicious steak ever, and he made us this kluak. Now he is openly crying. Well, he did made good meals and the cloak is actually nice. The serious side of Zetsu said and was admiring the cloak. It is a black cloak with red clouds. The interior is red and has a chin-high collar with an opening to allow Zetsu to wear it, and was made with the best comfortable material that Zetsu ever wear. Truly a perfect cloak, with both sides agreeing it is a nice gift. Madara ordered Zetsu to look after the Kyuubi container named Kino. A nice kid to Zetsu, who looked after him from a child to a preteen, and that was as far. He enjoyed his company, but the seal was breaking. Zetsu went to bring Madara to Kino to help ease the pain a bit, but the Kyuubi broke out. Madara had Nagato to use Chibaku Tensai to contain the Kyuubi, while Madara used his eternal Mangekyo Sharingan to calm the Kyuubi in a genjutsu as much as possible, while Konan and Yahiko use a genjutsu to hide the huge ball of earth, and Zetsu is to keep ninja away. The plan was simple: contain the Kyuubi and pull the ball of earth towards Konoha. The Kyuubi will search for a huge mass of people and the Yondaime will seal it into his grandchild. That's the plan. The day the Kyuubi attacked Konoha, Madara was controlling the Kyuubi to attack the village. He watched the Kyuubi slaughter many shinobi, then he saw the Yondaime sealing the Kyuubi away, and he knew his job is done and left to attend Whirlpool. If he stayed a bit longer or made sure his plan worked, he would have taken his granddaughter with him. 5 years later. It has been some time since Madara had visited his daughter. He was busy with Whirlpool and saving some more bloodline users from mist. Madara teleported in the backyard of his daughter's home wearing his new uniform that is a black cloak with red clouds with red interior and a high collar. It is a tribute to the previous container after Zetsu showed them the cloak, and it was later to be called the uniform of the elites of the village. Akatsuki. He was about to meet her, but he felt something wrong. There was no one living inside the home. He checked inside to make sure nothing has happened. When he entered the home, he noticed that the place has never been used for quite some time. He began to worry and went to check the village archives. It was easy to get into the files and the Hokage's hidden compartment. When he left, Tobirama gave him the key to the compartment and thanked Kami that no one changed the lock. He found the Yondaime's scroll to Naruto, so he took it. He read at what happened at that night. He found out that Kushina died giving birth to Naruto, who is now an orphan. He read the report on what the council wanted of the child. Some wanted to kill the girl while some wanted to turn the child as a weapon. He seethed when he read that part, but was thankful for the Sandame for saving her from such a fate. He read about what happened during her childhood and came to a conclusion. That Konoha is not the village that Hashirama has envisioned. The Senju clan is nearly wiped out with its last 2 members on self-exile, and the other is in Anbu. He read a report that the Uchiha is planning a coup from a spy being the Uchiha prodigy who is very loyal to his daughter and granddaughter. He read that Itachi was the only one who saves her from her beatings. He is thankful that there is some trustworthy Uchihas. He went back to his daughter's home and cleaned the place out. He found many scrolls in the home and his daughter's belongings. After cleaning it out, he went to find his granddaughter. It was raining and it was difficult to look for her. How hard is it to find a redhead in the village? Then he heard a scream and went to investigate. It was a mixture of pain, sadness, regret and hatred. Madara found the sight of his grandchild holding her bleeding eyes over another child who he guessed is a female Uchiha. He sensed someone on the roof and saw a weasel mask Anbu, which he guessed by the mask it is Itachi. He looked over to his grandchild to see her eyes were red with a black pattern that looks like a whirlpool and knew that it was the Mangekyo Sharingan, but then it changed again to show a jagged whirlpool and knew what that was. He looked towards the Uchiha girl to see her eyes missing. Naruto was openly crying and he knew that she didn't take the girl's Sharingan for power. It was given to her, just like him. But why did it change to an eternal Sharingan when the dead Uchiha girl didn't have a Mangekyo? He knew that her grandchild had her as a friend and she must have been injured to a point that she couldn't survive, and Naruto was left with a choice to end her suffering or let her to continue to suffer. Then before she killed her friend she was requested to take her eyes as gifts. Once she killed her she unlocked the Mangekyo, which was the whirlpool pattern, and once she took her friends it must have changed again into the eternal Mangekyo Sharingan, the jagged whirlpool pattern. But to obtain the eternal Sharingan the other user must have the Mangekyo. Maybe the huge mass of chakra compensated for the change was all Madara came up with. Still he couldn't but feel the irony of her Mangekyo looking like a whirlpool. He knew that each Mangekyo has a different ability, and one of his is his teleport ability, which he now thanks Kami each day for the ability. He had enough with watching and went to go pick up his grandchild who passed out from the ordeal. He didn't get any resistance from the Anbu and he must know who he is. "You're Madara, aren't you?" "Yup," he knows. "Yes, you are Itachi, right?" The Anbu nodded. "Do you have a place that is dry?" Itachi nodded and jumped down to pick up the dead child. "This way." Sometime later, Madara was attending to his grandchild's wounds and noticed they were healing quite fast, even faster than the last container. He studied the seal and noticed that the seal is strong enough to hold the chakra, which he is thankful for. He carefully looked over his grandchild more carefully to see she has her mother's hair and small skinny body from no nourishment. He will have to attend to that later. For this story there will be no whisker marks. Like I said, the seal was a perfect one and the tailed beast are just chakra in a shape of animals. What happened to them? Madara asked Itachi after he took off his weasel mask to show his face, which Madara took off his orange whirlpool mask that whirls to his right eye. The mask was a gift from Kushina made for him and shows a pair of Sharingans. I said nothing about losing his left eye. I was out on a mission. After I finished my report, I quickly went to find Naruto. Every Anbu member holds a grudge against her and I am the only one who looks after her other than the Sandaime. Madara nodded his head in acknowledgement and knows he doesn't have to kill him. After I found her tracker I found the mob, I killed each one of them and went to find Naruto. When I found her she was talking with her friend and telling her she was going to be alright, but from the wounds I saw, she wasn't going to make it. "Who's the girl?" Madara motioned to the body that is hidden underneath a sheet. "She's been Naruto's friend for a year now. Her name is Kagura Uchiha. They were secretly friends, but me, my mother, the girl's mother knew that they were friends. Kagome isn't going to like to hear that her third daughter is dead, but she has kind intentions with Naruto," Itachi said in sorry tone of voice. "Third daughter?" Madara saw a small blush that quickly disappeared and knew something is up with him and the two daughters. Kiriko and Kirika Uchiha are their names and both are kind to Naruto. Itachi said, hiding his intentions, but Madara already figured out that Itachi has a thing between the two girls. So Kagura asked Naruto to kill her to end the pain. Itachi nodded and remembered how Naruto told her she was going to be alright. And asked her to take her eyes. Yes, Naruto already had a matured Sharingan with the countless attempts with her life, and Kagura knew about this, and she also had a matured Sharingan that she kept it secret from the clan. Itachi said, and Madara knew that having a 5-year-old matured Sharingan user is very rare, a prodigy in fact. If it was matured then the Mangekyo would soon be unlocked. He just wished that he came sooner to retrieve Naruto. "I hear there is a coup coming soon, is this true?" Madara asked Itachi, who nodded. "Yes, my father and majority of the clan are planning a coup to take control of Konoha. They also plan to release the Kyuubi." Itachi stopped when he felt huge amount of killing intent coming from Madara. But once he saw Naruto squirming in the bed feeling very uneasy with the killing intent, he stopped. "Sorry about that," Madara said and went to comfort Naruto, who calmed down. "She is still crying in her sleep. The council has ordered me to kill the clan." Itachi was expecting Madara to unleash another wave of killing intent, but nothing happened. Instead he said something that got him unprepared. "Need help?" was all he said, but then he remembered that Madara hated his clan, well, the arrogant ones. "Yes, I need help. Even with my Mangekyo I still need some help," Itachi said and showed Madara his Mangekyo Sharingan that looks like a 3-point shuriken. Are there anyone in the Uchiha clan that aren't in the plan and arrogant? Madara asked, not wanting to kill any innocent blood. There are a few. I was planning on gathering them and taking them outside the village, Itachi said, getting Madara's attention. Where were you planning to take them? Madara saw Itachi look away and figured that he didn't plan ahead. I guess I could take them to Whirlpool Village. Whirlpool? I thought it was destroyed. Itachi questioned. Yes, it was destroyed and I happened to rebuild it and recruited many people. Madara said proudly, and Itachi nodded and said he was going to start gathering them. After some time, all the Uchiha who were secretly against the coup were outside, and one Kagome and her daughters entered the house to find her third child dead. She cried for quite a while with her daughters. Madara understood what it felt like to lose a child, and once he heard he lost his only child he was devastated, but knowing that her daughter is alive brought him out of the dark. Once Kagome calmed down, she went towards Naruto, which got Madara worried a bit, but she just comforted her, who is still crying in her sleep. Itachi told her what happened to her daughter. She didn't hate the girl, but she hated the village instead. They took her daughter away and she will make sure that they won't take anyone else away from her. She has her eyes, doesn't she? Kagome said in a gentle tone that a loving mother would talk in. Madara nodded after he sensed that the woman cared for his grandchild. I tried to adopt her, but the council was against it, so I made sure she was able to get as much food and shelter as much I could give her. Even Kagura took a liking to her. She now cradled Naruto and she soon stopped crying. Will it be okay if I look after her? Madara agreed with the woman, who now lied down on the bed with the girl in her arms and fell asleep. He knew that he will have to leave soon, so he left the hut to check on the progress on getting all the Uchiha who weren't part of the clan to get out of the village. When he exited, there were only 4 dozen of them, and majority of them were women and children. Some of them had Chunin and Jonin armor. Is this everyone? Madara asked Itachi as he appeared before him with his mother in tow, who was also wearing Enbu armor. This is all that were against the plan. Madara nodded and got everyone in one place. Kagome exited the hut carrying a sleeping Naruto with her daughters behind her. Itachi was carrying Kagura's body, and Madara summarized that they don't want to bury her in this village. Okay everyone, you may feel uneasy after this. Madara warned everyone, and then he teleported everyone to Whirlpool Village. 2 weeks later, the newly formed elites of Whirlpool Village, Akatsuki, were having their first meeting. The Akatsuki isn't just the strongest, but they are the village's advisors. Madara didn't want to have a council like what Konoha has, which is filled with old civilian geezers and leaders of a clan. He wanted Akatsuki to be filled with experienced shinobi who will fight on the front lines, not look after their own clan. The members consist of Yahiko the Shodem Arashikage, or First Storm Shadow, but he wasn't wearing the cloak, but instead the Arashikage robe is black and red like the Akatsuki cloak. The first and second member were the Cage's advisors Nagato and Konan. Konan teaches whatever that is she needs to teach, and Nagato is the village seal master in training. Sure, the man has the Rinnegan, but the Rinnegan is too dangerous for him to use. If he uses the wrong technique wrong, he might become crippled. All he can do right now is using it to master the elements. Anything else is just too dangerous for his health. The third member is Zetsu. He teaches earth manipulation, infiltration and info gathering. That is if the students don't run away from him. The fourth member is Sasori of the Red Sand, who is the infiltration and puppet sensei, and for once he is not in his Hiriko puppet. The fifth and sixth members are Zabuza Momochi and Kisame Hoshigaki, who are the Kenjutsu and water manipulation senseis. The seventh and eighth members are the respected Itachi Uchiha and his mother Makoto Uchiha. Itachi is the fire manipulation and genjutsu sensei, while his mother is surprisingly the lightning manipulation sensei. Everyone wondered why she is a member when she spent majority of her life as a housewife. She stated that it was just a facade to hide from her husband and Uchiha council. Everyone stopped questioning her after that. The ninth member is Rin Inuzuka. Why she is in Whirlpool? Well, Madara found her helping as many people in Mizu, and she instantly accepted to help rebuild Whirlpool, the home of her sensei's wife. She is the head medic Nin and the sensei in the medical art. And the final member is Tobi. The good boy. Well, he is Madara in the village, but he is the carefree and goofy Tobi outside the village, which everyone agreed to have some comedy relief. Besides, he is actually quite good at it. So what are we here for? Kisame asked, bored, while he should be using his time on some missions that will soon be handed out. Well, we wanted to hear some opinions on how we should improve the village. Yahiko asked the group and everyone was talking amongst each other. I say we bring in the 7 swordsmen back. Kisame said out loud. I agree, it was such a pain to know that half of the 7 swordsmen in Mist were such pansies. Zabuza said, adding his 2 cents in this notion. The 7 swordsmen belongs to Mizu like the legendary Sanin belongs to Konoha and we have Akatsuki. I don't want to take other villages' titles away. Sasori said and everyone nodded. Besides, Akatsuki is the last hidden defense of Whirlpool, so it wouldn't hurt to have a group of specialists. Yahiko stated. First they must know how to wield a sword. Kisame and Zabuza said at the same time. Okay, they must know how to wield a sword. Conan said while writing it down. Anything else? They must be experts in stealth. I don't want any huge ego, arrogant, lazy and tardy ninja to be in this group. Sasori said, detesting people who are late. Far away in Konoha, the ninja that Sasori spoke of, sneezed. You all know who he is. Conan was writing this down on a scroll. Okay, and the members must be skilled in an element as well. She asked the group and everyone nodded. What about the uniforms? Everyone was silent when she asked that. The Akatsuki cloak is reserved for the elites or the advisors and the cloak is damn comfortable. How about a coat? Conan asked the members. What kind of coat? Zabuza asked what everyone wants to know. The coat could be made of the toughest material and should have some seals to protect the wearer and should have some gravity seals on it as limiters. Conan said while everyone was thinking it through. That sounds reasonable. Rin said as she thought it through. If the coat is thick enough it could protect the vital organs and it should be maneuverable enough so it won't get in the way. Nobody questioned the medic's logic. So what of the color? Nagato said while everyone was brainstorming on the coat. Black with red interior. Everyone said at the same time. Madara sighed at the dress code of Whirlpool. It seems that black and red are this country's style. The type of coat depends on the style the member wants it to be. Conan said as she cheered in her mind for having her style in the next. What was it called? What should this group be called? Everyone again began to think of what to call it. Well, there should be 10 members. Itachi finally spoke up in the meeting and Conan wrote that down. And there should be ranks. Kisame said and everyone was debating over this. If it will be ranked, I don't want to have the strongest to be ranked as 1, but I would like to have the ranks as capabilities. Sasori said, gaining everyone's attention. Think about it, if the strongest is ranked 1, then that person will be target number 1. This kind of logic is very hard to ignore. So you're saying is that the person who is ranked 1 is capable to fight hordes of shinobi and survive? Yahiko asked Sasori, who nodded. Yes, this group is not based on strength or power, but in skill. Sasori said as everyone agreed. Too many strong shinobi were ranked as 1 as being the strongest were killed in history. So the ranks are like how hard it is to kill them. This group sure has tough expectations. Any suggestions on what we should call them? Yahiko asked as everyone again is having a hard time thinking of the name. Whirlpool's natural disasters. Makoto suggested and everyone went for it. After all, nature causes such natural disasters with the weather. Then the meeting went on to some other subjects like the resources they have and funding, which wasn't going too well. After all, they're just starting to take on S-rank missions and Whirlpool is still kept hidden somewhere in water country. It was agreed that they are not ready to get rid of the Mizukage yet, so they will have to wait till the time is right. Madara could defeat the Mizukage, but he isn't invincible. Yeah, he knows he could die, but he is hard to kill. He can't fight all of Whirlpool's battles, but he wouldn't mind fighting with them. After the meeting, Madara, Itachi and Makoto went to the Uzumaki clan compound. The Uchiha didn't mind living in the compound. In fact, they were grateful for the hospitality. Not like the other Uchiha who would think their superior name brought them the home. In fact, Madara made it large enough for hundreds of people or more to live in the compound. Hell, the place has its own district which holds the Hitsugaya, Kagaya and Uchiha to live in, with many more clans that moved to Whirlpool. Once the 3 entered the main compound, they heard a fight from the backyard. They entered to see Naruto fully dressed to fight, fighting both Kiriko and Kirika at once. The twins, which Madara found out were a year younger than Itachi, and both were like their mother Kagome in personality only. The difference between them is that Kiriko has short wavy hair and Kirika has short spiky hair, and their mother has long hair that reached her hips. The twins were Chunin level and were holding back with little Naruto, who was avoiding each attack flawlessly without the Sharingan. The said girl was mentally exhausted for 5 days and to comfort her until she asked to be trained, which Kagome happily accepted. She also asked to learn some medical jutsus, which again made the head doctor happy to hear. After all, she is her sensei's wife's daughter. After the fight was over, Naruto went towards Kagome, who gave her a small snack, and the twins noticed Itachi. Itachi, once noticing the twins noticing him, was about to take off, but a firm grasp on his shoulders kept him in place. He looked to his right to see his mother's hand, and he looked to his left, and strangely enough Madara was holding him in place. He accepted his fate and was tackled to the ground by both girls, who happily gave him affection. Makoto and Madara were laughing at the boy's situation, and Makoto went to get some rest for the next day while Madara went to Naruto. "How you feeling, Naruto-chan?" Madara asked his grandchild, who is trapped in Kagome's arms. Naruto took the news of having a grandfather with tears of finding out she has a family that is alive, and she fainted from the news of his grandfather being 100 years old. It was thanks to his perfect control of his chakra that he lived this long and looked so damn young. It was one of the side effects of having an eternal Sharingan. Embarrassed, Naruto said, trying to get out of her surrogate mother's arms and failing. She stopped trying and accepted her fate along with Itachi, and she now understood his dilemma. "Follow me, I got to get you your presents I missed the last 5 years." Madara said as he went towards his room with Naruto, who was released from her confines and followed her grandfather, and today she didn't have to fear her own birthday now, which was today. She was told that everyone was going to be there for her birthday. Madara entered and exited his room and went to Naruto's room, which was supposed to be her mother's room. "Since I missed 5 years of your birthdays, I will give you 5 years worth of presents." Madara took out a scroll from his pocket and released it. What came out was a photo portrait. It had 5 pictures. The first one showed a woman with red long hair that reaches her knees with green eyes and a huge stomach with a person that looked like Madara. "That woman is your grandmother Yuki Uzumaki, and she is pregnant with your mother," Madara said, motioning to the woman in the first picture. "I first met her when I went on an alliance treaty mission when I was a Mizukage back then. She was such a fiery woman that I took a liking to her, then I soon started to meet her more often." The next picture showed her grandparents with a baby in her grandmother's arms. "That one is this with your mother as a baby." Naruto nodded and tried to hold back her tears of knowing her family. The third picture just showed Madara and a girl that looks exactly like her in Madara's arms. The girl has red long hair that reaches her lower back, but she has green eyes. "That is me and your mother Kushina when she was a child, when she was living in Konoha. She was such a tomboy and a fiery girl when she was little." Naruto examined her mother more carefully to see that she is just like her mother in every way, from looks to personality. The fourth one looked exactly like the first one, but her mother had her hair in a ponytail and is wearing Enbu armor with a fox mask in her hand, and Madara had the orange spiral mask. "That one is when your mother became an Enbu captain and was known as the Crimson Death in the bingo books. The spiral mask is a gift from her." Naruto has having a hard time from crying, but it wasn't from any of the negative feelings but of final knowing her mother. The last picture was the one with her mother in civilian clothes with a stranger in his arms. The man had Jonin clothing with a white haori with red flames dancing on the bottom, and he has short gravity-defying blonde hair with blue eyes, and he had a goofy smile. "That one is your parents. The man holding your mother is your father, the Yondaime Hokage of Konoha, the Yellow Flash, Minato Namikaze." Naruto started crying and embracing the portrait, and Madara held her in his arms to soothe her. Once she calmed down, Madara set the portrait down and took Naruto to another room, which was in the basement. "This is your second present, your father's library of jutsu." Once he said that he saw stars in Naruto's eyes with drool coming out of her mouth. "The place is huge with row after row of jutsus. If I remember correctly, this is almost the same size as Konoha's library of jutsu," Madara said, and now he saw her getting excited. Okay, let's go to your third present." Madara had to drag Naruto away from the library to get to the study room. They stood before a table with a sheet on top of it. "No, this is your mother's family history." Madara removed the sheet to show a glass case with scrolls in them with the word Uzumaki on them. They are the Uzumaki family history and techniques. The Uzumaki are actually from a lineage of samurai, and the scrolls are their techniques and history. It took me a long time to find them all. Naruto again had stars in her eyes of knowing her family line. Alright, 2 more years to go. Madara went to the table to take out 2 scrolls, but more specifically her parents' note. Madara gave the one from her father to her first since she needs to know about her parents. Naruto opened up the scroll and out came 2 more. She took the first one and it was a letter. Naruto, if you are reading this, then that means you are strong enough to know who your parents are, or you either broke into the hidden Hokage compartment. Naruto stopped reading to look at Madara, who just shrugged his shoulders. Anyways, I am your father. Naruto's sweat dropped at that statement. Sorry, couldn't resist, but anyways, I am the Yondaime Hokage, or better yet Minato Namikaze. You must have realized by now that you have the Kyuubi sealed within you. Well, don't fear the Kyuubi, because the Kyuubi is just chakra and I made the seal strong enough to hold the chakra, and in time it should be all yours in no time. If you're wondering why I chose you for this, it is because I have no one else to trust besides my own flesh and blood. Before I sealed the Kyuubi, I have made it my wish for you to become a hero. If the village didn't respect my wish, then I am sorry for the burden I have given you and will always support you no matter what you do. I didn't come from a prestige family and I was an orphan. The only thing I can give you is the techniques I have created. They are in the second scroll and be careful when you learn them. One is an S-class technique and the other is a sulfur monosulfide class, so be careful. I have to end this now and to let you know I will always love both you and your mother. Anyways, got to go kick some furball ass, so I wish you luck with becoming a powerful kunoichi and have a happy life. Your one and only Minato Namikaze. Naruto chuckled at her father's choice of words. What was he like? Naruto asked Madara, hoping to know more about her father. From what Kushina said to be is that he was strong and powerful, but kind and caring when he was around your mother. Always smiling and looking at the brighter side of things. Madara said while telling his grandchild what he knew of Minato Namikaze. He took out his final year present, which came out of a scroll, and it was a huge box. Naruto instantly went in front of it and opened it. Inside was her mother's Anbu gear. There was the grinning fox mask with red swirls on the cheeks, her red chest, shin, arm armor and the clothes. On the bottom were 2 tantos that looked like a dark red stick. Naruto took out one and unsheathed it, but it was still sheathed. She continued on with unsheathing it until it was a full-length katana. The blade itself looked like it was dipped in blood and shined. The sheath has a special seal to make it look like a tanto. Naruto nodded and put the katana back into the sheath. Now come on, we have to get you ready for your birthday party. Madara said as the others were getting the stuff ready, and that stuff wasn't food. 2 hours later, the stuff was actually a beautified kimono, hakama and a haori, and thanks to Naruto's family line of tomboyish personality, it took the whole 2 hours to get her into the clothes. Kagome had a hard time putting it on her. She had to ask her daughters for help and she still put up a fierce fight. Then Kagome brought in Mikoto, who ended the battle of putting the clothes on. The kimono in question is colored black with red flames, the hakama is light purple and the haori is red with black flame pattern on the bottom. Naruto somehow bargained her way out of wearing the obi and both were still wondering how she did it. Madara heard the scruff with his granddaughter and wondered if he should have helped, but he went against it and went to greet the guest. The first to arrive were Yahiko and Konan with their daughter Mai, who surprisingly presented Madara a deck of cards from her sleeve and started doing tricks with them. It was fairly obvious that she took after her mother with her paper manipulation, and she has brown spiky hair and blue eyes. Nagato entered right after his friends and entered a conversation with the two. Then came in Zabuza Momochi with his son Haku and wife. Madara swore that Haku is a girl, but he didn't voice it. He just hoped no one else would openly make the same mistake as he did. They were followed by the Hitsugaya clan and their heir Toshiro Hitsugaya. The kid is very quiet and talks when necessary and had short spiky white hair with green eyes. Next came the Kagaya and the newly formed Ongaku clan. What they do is still a mystery, but they specialize in musical instruments. Kimimaro came into the compound with a few kids to go to the party and get to know the people. From the Ongaku clan were the twins from the clan. Their names are Kyokin and Kaukin. Long story short, they're punks and their sister and heiress Tayuya. She had quite a mouth but restrained from using it. Then all of the Uchiha clan entered the party. Then the small clans also joined the party that wants to get to know the people. Then the rest of Akatsuki entered the party and surprisingly no one ran from Zetsu, but the kids screamed when they saw Kisame, which ended up with him chasing the kids around the backyard laughing maniacally and swinging his sword in the air. When the party started, Naruto had a hard time adjusting with the huge crowd until the Kagaya kids dragged her away and started playing with her, until they exhausted her to the ground, but she had fun with the kids. The adults were talking amongst themselves, but majority were talking about how they are going to train their kids. They have already picked out the soon-to-be natural disasters. Naruto Uzumaki being one of them. Haku will be trained as his father will make sure he becomes a member. Toshiro Hitsugaya being a genius in his family's ice jutsu and kenjutsu. Mai Uzumaki, the daughter of the Arashikage, will also be trained. Kimimaru Kagaya has already become a member. Kauken, Kyoken and Tayuya Ongaku will also be trained, and the last two could go to the Uchiha sisters if they trained hard enough. After the kids had their fun and Kagome finished taking pictures, then the main course of the party started with the food. There was enough food to feed a family of Akamichis, which means that there is enough. Once everyone settled down after eating, they just talked amongst each other until Kagome said that there is only one more shot. Everyone gathered at the backyard and stood in one line with the kids in the front and the adults were in the back. Itachi had to make a shadow clone to put in Kagome, and sure enough the picture was taken of everyone in it. Planning for the future. Madara is enjoying his peaceful morning. He enjoys these peaceful mornings with nothing to disturb his peace. No way in hell I'm putting that on. Well, it was peaceful. Madara heard the scuffle upstairs and knew that Kagome is trying to make Naruto wear something, in her words, girly, and that means anything pink. The last time Kagome tried to make the redhead wear something pink, she activated her Mangekyo and blew a fireball at Kagome. Good thing she had training or she would have been fried, but the intended target was eliminated. From what he is hearing upstairs, Kagome must be making her wear a kimono. She doesn't mind the kimono as long she gets to wear a hakama pants, but a full-blown yukata kimono, she will throw a fit. Kagome understood the redhead's tomboyish attitude, but she tries to put in some feminine qualities into the girl, but her stubbornness is too great. No way. Madara heard something crashed and heard a window shattered. He turned to the open slid door to look outside to see the redhead land on her feet in the backyard in her nightwear, which was a shirt and shorts. Oh hey Gramps. His granddaughter waved at Madara and he just waved back. Get back up here this instant, young lady. Kagome called from upstairs and came down the stairs. Bye Gramps. And then she took off, somewhere. Where did she go? Kagome looked around and spotted Madara and he pointed in the direction he saw her took off. Kagome nodded and said thanks and went into pursuit. All is quiet and Madara is enjoying his peaceful morning. It's time like this he. Let go of me, damn it. I'm not putting it on. Again, it was peaceful. After some time later and some struggle, Madara looked over at his granddaughter wearing a battle dress. A blood-red kimono with black flames that ends right at the thighs with a white obi tied in with some brown belts and red cloths to give her an exotic look. On her arms is a red leather armbands that gloves her hand and goes up to her upper arms and strapped in more belts. On her legs are black battle sandals with blood-red guards that cover her shin and knees, and underneath it is a fishnet. What do you think? Kagome asked Madara, but she cut him off from saying something. I think this will give her some style, since I can't get that tomboyish attitude out of her, so I came up with a battle dress to give her an exotic look. Kagome was looking over the clothing with the red head in them. The kimono is made from a special material that will grow with her. I placed fire, lightning, wind, water and earth-resistant seals on the kimono to help her survive the outside world and it repair itself with chakra when torn. I have to thank Nagato for supplying me the seals. The armbands and shin guards are made out of the densest material we have for protection, and the belts are actually storage seals engraved in them, so she doesn't have to worry about heavy lifting. Kagome, I think you. Madara said to Kagome, but again she cut him off. And lastly the bodysuit underneath the kimono. Kagome said, lifting up the kimono to show the blood-red bodysuit ending at her thighs. The redhead held her kimono down, burning red in embarrassment, or anger, Madara wasn't sure. The bodysuit has the same seals as the kimono, but with a weight seal to increase the weight and a temperature seal for her to be cooled or heated when her bodies react. But this bodysuit is made from the thickest material we have available to help her survive. Kagome finished with her explanation and sat at the table. What do you think? Madara was about to say something but stopped, waiting for Kagome to say something, but she didn't. Isn't it a bit much? Not even Akatsuki are highly equipped. I know, but I want to make sure she is prepared. Kagome beamed knowing that her child is going to be alright, and the said girl just sighed at her predicament. Madara just shrugged and drank his coffee. Better safe than sorry. Kagome nodded, thus sealing the redhead's fate with her new uniform. At least it isn't pink. She muttered before eating her breakfast. Can I take it off now? Just wear it for the academy and training. Kagome said, and again she sighed. That started to be second nature to her. The redhead was walking towards the academy. She was introduced to the academy right after her 6th birthday, and it has been going along great for the last month. Hey Ranko, I still have you up for winning the next taijutsu fight. Your odds are 89% chance of winning. Ranko, or Naruto, sighed at her new name. Her grandfather or her sensei Rin gave her that name. It started just when she started the academy 1 month ago. 1 month ago. Madara left after he finished his breakfast and went to the meeting of Akatsuki. He entered the room with some images of the Akatsuki members who are out on missions. Kisame Hoshigaki and Makoto Uchiha were imaged in the room and are out on a mission. It was argued and agreed that one of the swordsmen should be teamed up with an Uchiha to help each other out, and they found out that they were a perfect team. Zabuza Momochi and Itachi Uchiha were teamed up together, and they too were out on a mission and were using the hollow projection jutsu. Why Zabuza is with Itachi? Well, his wife wouldn't allow him to be with another woman on long missions. Kisame did a whip motion to Zabuza that pissed him off. Sasori of the Red Sand and Deidara were projected and are out on missions. Deidara joined the ranks after he defected from Iwa, saying something that there was too much tension at the village and the Tsuchikage was an ass. He didn't mind joining Whirlpool as long as they allow him to teach his art, thus the battle of whose art is better has begun. Kakuzu joined as well after he met a longtime friend who strangely enough was Madara. He agreed with joining Whirlpool and started the finance work of Whirlpool. Zetsu is also projected and he was doing recon on Kiri. Konan, Nagato, Yahiko and Rin were in the room as well. So what is this meeting for? We still have to get the payment for our mission. Kisame asked with his teammate Makoto nodding in agreement. This. Yahiko took out the latest bingo book from Konoha. What of it? They finished putting Itachi in it. Zabuza said, who didn't mind this old news. That and someone else is in it as well. Madara grabbed the bingo book and flipped the pages. They didn't. Madara said, coming to the latest pages, and looked up to Yahiko, who nodded. He turned the page to the group to show Naruto's picture. Kakuzu whistled at the reward. We won't have to worry about finances with that much money, but knowing Konoha, they won't pay for her reward. Everyone agreed with the reward, and it hurt Kakuzu that her reward is higher than his. It seems they are desperate if they want her dead, and it doesn't say she has the Kyuubi in her, it just said she is a child killer. Madara said as he looked over her profile, and he couldn't help but laugh at it. There was no way she could have killed 1,000 of people, both civilians and shinobi. With this kind of profile, the other villages would want to recruit her. He received nods from everyone. Rin took the bingo book and read Naruto's information, and everything was so very wrong. They don't even know how much she weighs, her eyes are sky-piercing blue, not hard blue. Rin said under her breath, but everyone pick up part of it. And there is no way that she sold her soul to a demon. Okay, everyone heard that one. Oh, is that it, yeah? It's nothing new that Konoha hates Naruto with a vengeance, yeah. Deidara said, hearing about what Konoha has done to the Princess of Whirlpool. No, Makoto, Itachi. Yahiko addressed to the two. Quote ellipsis. I need you to be extra careful. Konoha has put in Naruto's profile that she could be with Itachi. Both nodded. And we have to do something for the princess. Everyone knew he is talking about Naruto. All I can think of is changing her name. Everyone looked over to Sasori to get his full attention. If we register her name as Naruto, then all of the other villages would try to go after her head. They have her information wrong, so I just think we could just change her name, unless we keep an eye on her 24/7. Everyone nodded in agreement and waited for Madara or Rin to think of a name. Rin is more of a godmother to the little girl. How about Ranko? Rin suggested. Rowdy child, it suits her very well. Madara said as Rin had a flat-out look with a look of death mixed in there somewhere. I meant Little Storm. Rin said in a very sweet voice that all the married men recognized, and Madara recognized it too. That too, it fits as well. The said man waved his arms in front of him in defeat and doesn't want to get beaten. Alright, Madara will tell Ranko of this news and explain it to her while I fix the registration forms. Everyone nodded to Yahiko. That is all for now. See you guys this Wednesday at the pub. Present. Ranko looked behind her to see her cousin in name, but she is like a sister to her. Well, she's more like a bookie. Mei Uzumaki the gambler. Every class you will see Mei with a deck of cards. No matter where you search her, she will always have a deck of cards. Even if she doesn't have storage seals, she will somehow bring in cards to the academy. It was rumored that she started a gambling pool for who will score the highest marks or win a fight in a taijutsu spar. Ever since she teamed up with Kakuzu, she has gotten better with making more bets and money. Her mother Konan is still trying to figure out how she became such a gambler and why does Yahiko seem so innocent when she tries to figure it out. What's with the get up? Mei asked, pointing at her clothes. This is mom's idea of putting feminine in me. Ranko said in dismay, and Mei understood her predicament. Her mother has done the same thing with her. What you two damsels talking about? Both groaned hearing that voice. Hey Tayuya. Ranko called out to the girl that is a year older than them and has a deadly mouth. Why? She had an argument with another student and at the end she said, yeah. Well, fuck you. With an emphasis on the word fuck. She gotten in trouble at the academy, but her father was giving her a rant that wasn't punishment on her, but it was something about how she couldn't speak freely, and she learned many new words from that rant. No one argued with her again. Ranko here told me that her mom is prettying her up. Mei said, motioning to the clothes. Not bad, you look awesome in them. Tayuya said, liking the style of Ranko's clothing. Whoa, those are sweet clothing, dudette. Tayuya groaned hearing two voices behind her and saw her two brothers Kyokin and Kaukin. There was a reason she is annoyed by those two. They are damn punks to a degree that you just want to kill them, but must resist the urge to kill. She remembered her father telling her about his uncles that were just like his sons and he nearly killed them out of annoyance as well. Why couldn't that damn bloodline trait skip my fucking generation? Tayuya thought, inwardly crying that she will have to suffer having those two as brothers. I just hope Mara picks up traits from mom. So are we like going to the academy or what? Kaukin said with his twin nodding in agreement. The twins. It is what they are known as in the academy. They are from the Ongaku clan and they are the clan's geniuses in their family art. The Ongaku clan originated from Kumo and there were only few. The Raikage wanted to have the Ongaku clan to be breeding stock to increase Kumo's strength force. The remaining clan members fled from Kumo and joined Whirlpool after they met Madara. Anyways, the Ongaku clan had a bloodline trait that appears once in a while. Well, it is more like appear one generation and skips the next generation and appears again. Only two appear and they are twins and geniuses in the clan's art. But there is a side problem. They are punks. Let's go already, dude, or we'll like seriously going to be late. Sweet clothes by the way, dudette. Kyokin said as he and his twin went to the academy. I swear those two idiots are going to be the death of me. Lucky I'm 2 years older, huh? Tayuya said, earning groans from the two girls. See you damsels later. Mei opened up her booklet. This morning we have practice on Bunshin and Taijutsu spar. She had a knack for getting information and is the top infiltrator and information gatherer. She is already getting lessons on seals from both Sasori and Nagato. Come on, let's go. I already want this day to end. Ranko said, walking towards the academy with her Mei right behind her. In class she sat beside her friend Haku and her sister Mei. Haku, the sweet and innocent boy that is prettier than any girl in the room, is one of her closest friends. He has black long silky hair and chocolate eyes and is very kind. Everyone, and I mean everyone, wondered how a pretty boy like that came from Zabuza's jewels. Sometime he is mistaken as a girl when he comes in the class wearing a pink kimono, and he already has fangirls, even from the upper classes. Lucky bastard. A kimono. Haku said, looking Ranko's clothing. Not one word, Haku, not one word. Naruto said as she sat in her seat as Mei took the seat next to her. Nice choice in color. Haku said when it was silent, and that is when Ranko snapped. That's it. Ranko yelled out as she jumped at Haku, but she was held back by Mei with cards holding her in place. Let me at M. Let me at M. Calm down, sis, it was just a compliment. There is no need to start a fight. Mei said as she had 6 deck of cards holding Ranko in place as she remembered the many compliments Ranko received when she entered the academy. They were nice words by the way, but her personality has hated those compliments. Fine, Ranko said as she calmed down. When Mei released her cards she jumped at Haku, but Mei thought better and only released her with the cards still in place, which resulted with Ranko trapped in the same position as she tried to beat Haku. When the instructor entered the class, she was greeted with the sight of Ranko covered with cards that were restraining her and trying to reach Haku with an outstretched hand as her fingers were wiggling as she tried to reach him with them. Okay, class has begun. After Ranko had calmed down, the instructor named Shion Izuki has begun her lessons on the mechanics of jutsu. Shion Izuki is from Suna and practiced the art of puppetry and left the village when she felt that she couldn't learn anything more from Suna. That is until she discovered the art of mechanics on her travels. She has created new puppets that were not made from wood that Suna uses, but her puppets were made from a special material that was like metal and they have the appearance of a regular human being with a side of using chakra. Sasori was amazed when he met Shion's metal puppets, or Relians she calls them. While she made her puppets look as humanly as possible and told him the mechanics of her Relians. After that he has been helping her with her Relians and he too has started using them. They were a lot better than using human puppets, but he still uses his cage. Right now she is working on a powerful Relian that will have the power of a cage, but that will take time and patience which she has, and she chooses to work as an academy instructor for a break. Why she chose to be an instructor as her break time, no one knows why. Alright, I believe I gave you guys a reminder of ninjutsu, so we will practice the bunshin. Shion said as everyone lined up as she started calling out names. Haku Momochi, you're up and do 3 bunshins or more. Haku stepped up and he knew he was receiving hard eyes from the girls in the room. He called out bunshin and out came 4 clones. Alright, you passed now. Would Kasumi Mugen Tenshi step forward and please do 3 bunshins? Kasumi stepped up, who has red hair that is tied back with red eyes and is wearing a sky blue elegant kimono. Hey Ayane, try out doing this. Kasumi said just before she did 6 bunshins and grinned up to the girl behind her. The said girl has light purple hair with pink eyes and is wearing a purple kimono gi. Watch this. Without being called next, Ayane stepped up and did the exact number of bunshins as her sister. The 2 girls Kasumi and Ayane were the last survivors from the Mugen Tenshi clan that came from Kiri. They were a powerful clan in Kiri, next to the Kagaya and Hitsugaya, but there were only few. Their bloodline, well, they wouldn't call it a bloodline, they just have a change of color chakra. They were the first clan to be eliminated, only few escaped. The bloodline hunters followed their trail for a very long time, which proved that they were such a dangerous clan that must be eliminated in their point of view. They were rescued by Zabuza and Itachi when they followed the trail of blood and saw a woman protecting the 2 girls as she tried to fight the enemy shinobi off, but they ended up killing her. Zabuza and Itachi killed the shinobi and took the 2 girls to Whirlpool, and they are being taken cared after by Haku's mother and her clan. After they settled down from their ordeal, they started to have a friendly sister rivalry and started training to be kunoichi. And here they are having an argument on who is better. Okay, you 2 break it up. Shion said as she separated the 2 girls that were strangling each other, and Shion set them down on where they were sitting. Okay, now that we got those 2 out of the way, would Kauken Ongaku come up and do 3 bunshins? Kauken stepped up and did 4 bunshins, with them holding an instrument. One was holding an electric guitar, one a bass guitar, one a drum set, and the last one with a microphone. The one with the microphone twirled the microphone in his hand and brought it to his mouth. On a 1, on a 2, on a 3. Don't you dare, Shion shouted as she destroyed the bunshins from singing. The Ongaku clan may be good with music, but they are not ready to sing anything. Okay, will Kyokan Ongaku come up, and if you dare do what your brother did, then I will get you and your brother in detention. She said with her eyes completely shadowed. Kyokan wisely did 4 bunshins without instruments and went back to seat. Okay, Mei Uzumaki, you're up. Mei stepped up after she finished shuffling her cards and putting them away, and she did the exact number of bunshins. After that she went back to her seat and took out the same deck and began shuffling them. Ranko Uzumaki, you're next. And try not to fill the room up this time. Nice clothes, by the way. She had a tick mark on her head at the compliment. Must resist urge to kill. Must resist urge to kill. Must resist urge to kill. Ranko did the bunshin and only filled the main floor and not the upper desks. You're getting better, Shion said as Ranko cancelled her clones and went back to seat. Now everyone head outside, we will have you practice taijutsu. Outside, everyone was looking towards the field. Okay, ladies first, Shion said, and hearing groan from the boys. Would Ayane Mugen Tenchi and Ranko Uzumaki come up? Hey Mei, what are my odds against Ayane? Ranko asked, not ever fighting Ayane before. Mei opened up her booklet and scanned for Ayane. From what I got here is that she is very fast using one of her family's taijutsu styles, but it is only used by men. Mei said as she read over her notes. I say you have a 50% chance of winning. If you use your Sharingan you would most likely win. Ranko nodded, liking her odds, and finally she has competition. The two faced each other as Ranko didn't activate her Sharingan. It was advice she received from both her grandfather Madara and Itachi to not rely on her Sharingan and be dependent on them, but use as a last resort. She took their words to heart. Not using your Sharingan? Ayane asked out of curiosity. She heard that the Whirlpool Princess has the Sharingan and heard stories how dangerous the people are that has them. No, I was told not to rely on them too much. I prefer to have a fair fight that I will most likely lose. Ranko said as she took the Uchiha's fighting style. Good to know. Ayane said, smiling, that she will have another rival that could help improve her. Sure, Kasumi is good in a fight, but she wanted someone just as strong as her in the physical area. Shion eyed the two as they got ready to fight. Fight! Shion called out as the two started the fight. Ayane was spinning and avoiding Ranko's attacks as they were throwing fists and kicks at each other. Ayane was spinning low and jumped forward with a twirling her body with a kick towards Ranko's stomach, but she jumped over Ayane and did a spin kick to Ayane's down position as she picked herself up. Ayane pushed herself off the ground, just barely getting kicked in the head. The fight continued with not one getting a single hit to each other. Alright, time. Shion stopped the two from fighting. That was impressive. Surely you two have potential to be powerful, Kunoichi. Both of the girls smiled, being praised from the instructor as she started to call in two more girls into the field. Ranko went towards Mei, who was updating her booklet. This is an odd development. You didn't win a fight. Well, she is fast like you said, and she is really good in taijutsu. Ranko said as she sat beside Mei, who was sitting beside Haku. Indeed, I noticed that her fighting style is unpredictable and she nearly had you a few times. Haku said, telling the girls what he witnessed from the fight. Not to mention Ayane has been practicing almost all the time at home. It must be real nice that you get to watch her practice at home and live with them, huh? Ranko teased Haku and the said pretty boy blushed. Shut it, Haku muttered, which only made Ranko and Mei laugh. Hey Ranko. The trio turned and saw the two sisters heading towards them. What's up? Ranko asked Ayane, who was looking her up and down. Where did you get your clothes? Ranko sighed when she was asked that question. I mean, I noticed that you were freely moving around and they were not restricting your movements. Ayane asked, with Kasumi nodding in agreement. It's hard finding clothes that fit right and fight in. Not to mention how elegant they are. Kasumi said as she too is looking upon Ranko's clothes. You got to admit they make good points. Mei said, didn't your mother made them for you? Can you ask her to make more for us? Ayane and Kasumi said as they grabbed Ranko's hands and were begging her. Over at the compound, Kagome is happily sewing and making more battle dresses. Ever since she had free time when Ranko and her two daughters were at the academy, she started making special battle dresses. The one that Ranko is wearing is the one with all of the accessories she requested from Konan and Nagato. They wondered why she made the request, and she said she wanted to make special battle dresses for Whirlpool's strong Kunoichi, and the two agreed. Well, Konan gushed hearing that Kunoichi would be wearing elegant battle kimonos and Nagato just wanted to make more seals. When she finished making one, she had Ranko put it on and sent her out to show her merchandise. Now she is making another one as she is humming to a tune as she was sewing a kimono. Great, Mom is going to gush when she hears this, and she will most likely use me as a dress-up doll. Ranko thought in dismay and shuddered at the thought of being a dress-up doll. Okay, let go my hands. Ranko said just before she got hugged by two girls, and now she knows how Itachi feels when Kiriko and Kirika hugged him. Get off. Inside the academy. Man, I'm bored. Hey Ice Cubes, anything new happened? Tayuya said to her desk partner Toshiro Hitsugaya, who too is also bored and didn't mind the nickname. He has snow-white hair with glacier-colored eyes and wore a blue kimono and hakama. No, just the usual, training in kenjutsu and practice with my ice jutsu. Nothing special. Toshiro said as he yawned as they were learning how to infiltrate a building properly. Will you two shut up, I'm trying to sleep here. Tayuya would have shouted a swear but restrained herself and glared over to the girl that is trying to sleep. I thought you were already asleep, bitch. The said girl has mid-length silver hair with burning red eyes and dark tan skin and is wearing a baggy black shirt with baggy tan shorts. Her name is Jo Jigoku. I was but you two woke me up and I'm not a dog, bitch. Here she yawned and rested her head against the desk and went back to sleep. Tayuya just flipped her off and looked over at the clock to see she has another hour to go before they are let go for lunch. Man, I'm bored. Outside the academy, Mei Uzumaki and Kasumi Mugen Tenshi are next. Shion called out as Mei just handed her booklet to Haku, who pocketed it. I hear you're called the Gambler, why is that? Kasumi asked Mei as they walked towards the fighting ground. I make bets and gather information and use that for by betting. Right now I have a 32% chance of winning against you. Mei said as she stood in a basic fighting style. Is that off the information you gathered on me? Kasumi asked as Mei nodded and both got ready to fight. Ready, fight. Kasumi shot towards Mei and threw a fist as Mei blocked it and she avoided another fist to her stomach. Mei was on the defense the whole time as she fought with Kasumi and earned a few hits by her that would bruise later on. She knew that she would not likely win a fight against Kasumi because of her family's fighting style, but if she used her deck of cards, she would have had this fight in the bag, but it was a taijutsu fight. After a while Kasumi hid Mei out of the field and won the fight. You okay there, Mei? Nothing hurting? Shion asked Mei and she just shook her head. Good, because it seems you need to practice more on your taijutsu for now. Mei just nodded in agreement and wondered if her father will be available to teach her something. As for Kasumi, you are high level and continue on with your training. Kasumi smiled and knew that her sister won't let her become weak. Alright gents, you're up. Shion started with the boys and then came the battle with Haku, which every girl cheering for him, minus the Uzumakis and the Mugen sisters. He is facing one of the twins. Alright Kauken, no funny stuff. Dude, I'm so like totally going to kick your ass. Kauken said, pointing a finger at Haku, who had to restrain a sigh. Dude, remember, don't overwork yourself or you won't enjoy mom's lunch she prepared for us. Kyoken called out from the crowd. Awesome, Kauken said, and everyone at the field groaned and Ranko activated her Sharingan. Don't you mean? Excellent. Both brothers said out loud, doing air guitar solos with a screech of a guitar sound going across the field. Anything? Mei asked Ranko, who deactivated her Sharingan and shook her head no. Damn, not even the Sharingan can see through that genjutsu. Mei said as she updated her booklet as Ayane and Kasumi looked confused and were wondering what just happened. Oh, that's right, you two are new here. Well, the Ongaku twins have this bloodline trait that they are able to perform unbreakable genjutsu and have talent in their family's jutsu, but the downside of it is that those that carry this trait are like that. What you just saw is the genjutsu. Mei explained to the two. Does that usually happens? Ayane asked as Kasumi was watching Haku kicking Kuken's ass, but being kind about it. It happens once every week, too, if we're lucky. Ranko said as the fight ended with Kauken on his backside and thoroughly beaten gently. Well, at least Haku won. It's to be expected, Mei said looking over her notes. His father made sure that he is strong. From what I got here, Zabuza is expecting another child. Yeah, Shiki-san is already 2 months and I can't wait to see the baby. Kasumi said, who smiled at the thought of looking at a cute baby. You'll have to forgive my sister's girliness. Ayane apologized to Ranko, who just nodded weakly. Alright Kyoken, since everyone has already fought, unless you want to avenge your brother. Shion said as Kyoken shouted revenge, and she just sighed as she called Haku back to the field as he too gave Kyoken a gentle beating. But a beating is a beating, but he was kind about it. Okay kids, you are done for this morning and you can go for lunch, but be back for this afternoon. Everyone left the field and went for lunch, but the 7 of them went to go eat together. So what you got? Mei asked as she shown Ranko her lunch, which was sushi and vegetables with rice on the side. The same but with meat slices. Ranko said just before she switches her slices with Mei's sushi. Mei prefers meat over fish. So what do we got for the second half of the academy? Ranko asked while eating her lunch. We have shuriken and kunai practice as well as chakra control. Mei read over her booklet. So you getting the more advanced lesson? Advanced lesson? Ayane and Kasumi asked Mei, who looked over her notes. Yes, she has a lot of chakra, and I mean enough to equal 2 cages combined. The two girls were in awe of this and looked over to Renko, who was face first in her bento box eating away, and the two girls sweat drop at the princess. She doesn't act like a princess. The two sisters thought as Renko was picking the rice off her face and went back into the box. Who's the new damsels? Everyone turned around to see Tayuya with Toshiro and Joe with her, and Joe looked like she will fall asleep standing. These two dudettes, Kyokan said, and went back to eating his lunch. Are Ayane and Kasumi Mugen Tenshi? Kaukan said, finishing where his brother left off, and went back to eating. The Sakura Petals and the Purple Wonder. Toshiro said, and had to duck a fist from the said Purple Wonder. Don't you dare start calling me that. It's bad enough that my sister calls me that. Ayane said as Toshiro just shrugged and sat beside his cousin Haku and made small talk about ice manipulation, since Haku is the best observer. Joe just ate her food in gusto and went to sleep on the grass. You know that bitch wouldn't stop sleeping in class. Tayuya said as Joe just flipped her off from her sleeping position. Love you too, she said sarcastically. Anyways, anything new happened beside Haku kicking my brother's ass? Tayuya said and grinned when she heard two, hey, from her brothers. Just Renko and Ayane fighting to a draw. Haku said as he finished with his lunch. Tayuya whistled at that. It takes Toshiro and Haku to get her to fight seriously. Damn, another fighting damsel. Tayuya said as the said damsel was just eating her lunch and ignoring the nickname. The lunch hour went on with small talks and sleep. When the day was over, the said 10 went back to the compound. So you guys also learning the basics of element manipulation already? Joe asked lazily as she asked that question. Renko here is practicing it, I am more on earth. Mei said as she took out a red booklet. It wasn't the booklet she uses for gambling or information gathering, it was more like status information on the academy students. My elements are water and earth because of my paper ability. Tayuya, Kaukan and Kyokan are lightning, Haku and Toshiro water and wind with ice. Joe, you are fire and wind with inferno. And lastly, Renko is all of the above. Mei read out loud from her red booklet as she closed it. I'm not sure where you two stand. She pointed towards Ayane and Kasumi. I haven't checked yet, and what do you mean Renko has all of the above? Ayane asked as Renko just sighed. She remembered her lessons on how to activate her Mangekyo Sharingan. Itachi and Madara had to explain that each Mangekyo has 3 different kinds of abilities. Madara wouldn't tell Renko what his is, but he did say that he could teleport from far distances. Itachi told her about his Tsukuyomi, Amaterasu, and his ace in the hole Susanoo. She found it ironic that his abilities are named after gods, and he too agreed. She figured out her first ability is perfect chakra control. That means that she won't be wasting her chakra when she activates her Mangekyo. Though it also has the side of shape manipulation, since it too is based on chakra control. When she is not using Mangekyo, she has average control. Her second ability is perfect element control. That means she will be able to will the 5 elements. It also means she will be able to do more of the sub-elements when she activates Mangekyo. She won't be able to do sub-elements if it is deactivated, but still has average control with the 5 elements. The third ability is something she couldn't explain, but she saw the results. Her lightning sounds like screams with the color of bloody red, her fire is as black as the night itself, her water is as dense as the earth itself, her wind is as sharp as a hot blade, and her earth is as hard as iron. You can say she will have deadly element attacks when she activates her Mangekyo Sharingan. Her other 3 she received from her friend. She has not figured them out yet since they were not Mangekyo when she received them, but in time she will unlock them. You can say I'm a jack of all trades. Renko said as Ayane nodded. Well, me and Ayane haven't checked on our element yet, and we are working on our taijutsu for now. Kasumi said as the group entered the compound grounds. The compound is split up in different areas. There is the main kitchen, which is huge and can fit a lot of people with that huge diner. There are small refrigerators around the compound for drinks and snacks. The adults made a bar room and a lot of people go in there. There is the dojo, and that too is huge. In the center of the compound is an open field that the kids play or train in the outdoors. Behind the compound is where you do the more dangerous training. The rooms are practically all over the place. Renko has her own room, which is next to her study room, with her family belongings in there. The library, which is Renko's library, is in the basement that has 3 other entryways for easier exit, but everyone is free to enter there to learn a number of jutsu. So what are you doing for today, Renko? Mei asked as she saw Naruto go upstairs and came back down in her loose blue shirt and baggy shorts and started doing stretches. Gramps want me to work on my stamina and work with my taijutsu. Mei nodded as she too began her stretches. Renko-chan. Renko perked up and was about to dash away, but a firm grasp of her shirt stopped her. What happened to your dress? Naruto tried not to look behind her, but she turned around to look into Kagome's eyes and instantly turned to mush. It's upstairs on the bed. She lied, it is on the floor. You mean this red kimono that I picked up from the floor in your room that I made for you? Renko hung her head in defeat, getting caught. You made that? Kagome instantly had two little girls in front of her with light red and light purple hair. Can we make us a pair? The two girls had stars in their eyes, and Kagome's mother instincts went into action and took them to her shopper room. They sacrificed themselves to save you, Mei said as she watched the trio went to go pick a style, and then she looked over to Renko. You do realize you owe them one. Well, I would like to train with you two damsels, but I have to go to the other side of the compound to babysit little Mara. Tayuya said as she went walking away with her brothers. I have to go help mom with supper, Hiku said as he left to the kitchen. Toshiro just went off saying something he has to learn. Jo was sleeping on a couch after she finished eating leftovers and was enjoying her nap. Hey Renko, where is Kirika and Kiriko? Mei asked, running beside Renko around the training ground. They're helping with Rin-sensei at the hospital, Renko said as they continued on with their jog. Akatsuki meeting. So what are we here for again? Kisame asked as he received a smack at the back of his head that Makoto gave him. What was that for? You had a few screws loose in that head of yours, Makoto said as she smacked his head again. And that one? Kisame glared at his partner. Just in case. Makoto was inwardly laughing as the shark man glared at her and was ready to start a fight. Okay, that is enough, you two. We didn't have this meeting to have a fight. Yahiko stopped the two from fighting. Itachi was wondering why his mother seemed more carefree all of a sudden. When she was in Konoha she was more reserved and smiled that fake motherly smile. But now she seems happier he has ever seen her. With a shake of his head he waited for the meeting to start. Okay, Zetsu is here to report from his recon from Kiri, Nagato said and waited for the Venus Trapman to report. From what we've seen, the place is run down with people looking scared for their life, the white side of Zetsu said in a worried tone. The Mizukage is ruining the village inside out and there is a rebellion that wants to overthrow him, the black side of Zetsu said. Nagato, have you found a way to extract a biju and containing it? Madara asked the seal master. I found a way, but it will take some time for me to form the seals, the seal master said as he looked over his notes. I say I will have it ready in a few years, 6 at most. Madara nodded and signaled for Zetsu to continue. The Mizukage is paranoid and doesn't trust his followers. Hell, he executed the council to make an example. Zetsu had a look of disgust. We made contact with the rebellion leader's second in command and she has stated that they are not ready to attack the Mizukage yet. Zabuza had a thoughtful look. Hey Zetsu, did the woman have long auburn hair with green-blue eyes? Zabuza said as Zetsu shook his head. No, she has long pink hair with sharp red eyes and she had this look in her eyes that just creeps me out. White side of Zetsu said. She holds 2 swords, one katana on her side with a long nodashi on her back that looked like it needs to be sharpened, the black side of Zetsu said. Zabuza and Kisame looked at each other and nodded. Are we missing something here, yeah? Deidara asked at the two of the swordsmen's odd behaviors. We have an idea on who is the leader of the rebellion is, Kisame said, gaining everyone's attention. Her name is Mei Terumi and the second in command is Yachiru Kusajishi. Both remembered her father who was their sensei, a very sadistic man he was. Zaraki Kenpachi, the most dangerous and sadistic swordsman in Kiri history. Not even the 3 Sanin or Salamander Hanzo wouldn't want to fight him. He died how he wanted to die, fighting, laughing and smiling, and he took a small village off the map with him. Zabuza and Kisame had a faraway look, remembering about the past with the sadistic man and his little bundle of energy that he carried on his shoulders. Good times. Everyone sweat drop and continued on with the meeting. I'm still working on the cure for the Kaguya's lung disease, Rin said, giving her report on the Kaguya lung disease. If I continue on with the cure, I will have it ready for next year. That will strengthen relationships with the Kaguya clan. I have this month's academy reports, Conan said as everyone's attention is on her. I got 100,000 yen that my boy kicked ass. Zabuza said, bumping his arm in the air. I still have Ranko winning her fights. Madara said as he took out a bundle of cash. Konan sighed, remembering how this started. Well, for starters, Ranko tied in one of her taijutsu fights. Konan may hate the betting pool, but she wouldn't mind making bets that she could win. What? That's impossible. Madara yelled out with tears in his eyes as Konan grabbed the money in his hands, but Madara held his hand tight, not letting go of the money. That is until Konan used her ability to sharpen the money to cut his hand open, thus losing the money. After he dried his tears of losing his money and attended to his small wound, he asked who tied with his little girl. Ayane Mugen Tenchi has tied with Ranko without her using her Sharingan. Konan said as she read the detailed results of that fight. Mugen Tenchi, that name sounds familiar. Madara said as he rubbed his chin in thought. They are a clan that rivaled the Uchiha and Senju clan, but remained hidden. When clans started joining together to form villages, they joined the one nearest, which was Kiri. During the wars they started losing their numbers until the bloodline war started and we are down to the 2 last members. Nagato said, explaining the Mugen clan's history. Ah yes, I remember that clan now. Very deadly and swift, the Sharingan could read their movements, but they moved too fast for our bodies to keep up with them. Madara said, remembering his fight with a member back then. So who has potential to become a natural disaster? Makoto asked as she counted the money she made from Sasori. She made a bet that Kiriko and Kirika will be Rin's apprentice. We counted 10 in the academy and 3 who are already shinobi. Konan looked over the report. Kimimaru, Kiriko and Kirika are already out of the academy and are training. Kimimaru shows high potential to become stronger than the Sannin themselves if his lung disease is cured. Kiriko and Kirika have natural talent in the medical field, but they seem to be more on the stealth side. Kirika has a habit of playing with senbon needles and Kiriko always have ninja wire with her. Rin nodded, remembering how accurate Kirika is with those needles, and Kiriko seems to swing a kunai around with the wire. As for the kids in the academy, we have Toshiro Hitsugaya, Tayuya Ongaku and Jo Jigoku in the 3rd year. Konan began to read out their status. Toshiro has high marks, high skills in Kenjutsu and Ice Jutsu. Tayuya, well, she knows how to win conversations. Jo is just plain lazy and sleeps in majority of the class, but why she has potential? Well, an instructor pissed her off and he is still recovering after 3 weeks. I remember the guy she beat up. He received 3rd-degree burns with multiple broken bones with internal organ damage. Rin said, telling them what happened to the poor instructor. What about the kids? Makoto asked, wondering who will be a member. We have Mei Uzumaki, Kauken and Kyokan Ongaku, Haku Momochi, Ayane and Kasumi Mugen Tenchi, and finally Ranko Uzumaki. Konan said, reading the names of the candidates. 13. Itachi counted the number of candidates. Isn't there a bit too many? We did say 10 members. We did, but I didn't make it official yet. Yahiko said as they continued on with the meeting of the numbers of natural disasters. Okay, it is now called the 13 natural disasters, and let's just get this meeting over with so we can go already. In Konoha, the Sandaime sighed as he continued on with his paperwork. He had to allow the council to put Naruto in the bingo book. The girl wasn't a shinobi, so she isn't supposed to be in the books, but the council overruled him and made her profile into a complete lie. The good side about her profile is that no one doesn't know anything about her. He could have told her about her family, but that will only make her reward even higher, and he doesn't want to get her into more trouble since he already gave her too much trouble with her picture in the bingo book. What troubled him is that the council revived the root program that the Yondaime ordered to disband. They also want to put Danzo in as the Hokage, but since the Uchiha were slaughtered, his place as Hokage was shot to hell. But the council has given Danzo free reign over capturing Naruto and programming her mind to be a weapon for the village if they find her. He just wished that Itachi will look. You called for me, old man. The Sandaime looked over to the window to see his student Jiraiya. Yes, I want you to look for Naruto. The aged man said to his student, who looked disappointed. I don't want you to bring her back, but I want you to find a place for her to hide in. If possible, train her. Jiraiya didn't have to be a genius to figure out the aged Hokage wants Naruto to be kept away from the village. It was that bad. Jiraiya asked and saw the old man look away. Alright, I'll look for. You want me to tell Tsunade about this as well? She would want to know that her goddaughter is alive and lost somewhere. Jiraiya said, knowing he might get B. Oh, who is he kidding? Tsunade will probably kill him if she heard that Kushina's daughter is alive and not dead. I might have to risk it. You have any leads on Itachi? The Sandaime asked his student on the wayward shinobi who slaughtered his clan and spared his little brother. I have some leads. I got information that a hidden village is being built in Rice Country, but nothing solid. The Hokage nodded with this kind of information. But I got a lead in Kiri. The aged man raised an eyebrow. From what was given is that some group has rescued bloodline users and one witnessed this group wearing black cloaks with red clouds. What they are called is unknown, but they saved a bloodline clan and taken them somewhere. This is troubling news. If the council hears of this, then they will demand to know who is taking in bloodline users. The aged Hokage sighed, not liking the council one bit. That's not all. There is a rumor in Kiri is that another hidden village is being made and has started being operational. The people in black cloaks with red clouds are their elites. From what I got is that they are a two-man group that completes S-rank missions, and if I had to guess they are all S-rank shinobi. Again, the old man didn't like this information one bit. This will be catastrophic if the council hears of this. They would want to have that village as an ally and drain the village dry. If they are S-rank shinobi, they will no doubt destroy this village if we go to war with them. Jiraiya nodded, not telling the old man that Itachi is in their ranks. His informant in Kiri gave him a complete detailed picture of Itachi saving the two girls from the bloodline hunters. If Itachi is a shinobi of this hidden village, then surely Naruto will be in the village as well. Make your search quick, Jiraiya. Danzo has already sent his root shinobi out to find her. The old man warned Jiraiya as he took off from the open window. The old man looked over to his successor pictured and felt disgraceful for not protecting the Yondaime's daughter like he was supposed to. He can only hope that sending Jiraiya out to find her will make up for some of his mistakes. Back in Whirlpool. Damn it, Ranko, I'm not very good in taijutsu. Mei yelled out as she was rubbing her cheek from the punch she received. Sorry, you should react faster if you don't want to get hit. Ranko said as Mei just glared before smiling at Ranko. Oh shit. Ranko was then surrounded by multiple number of cards that boxed her in. She tried to punch her way out, but the cards felt like metal, thus hurting her hand. Fine, if she wants to use jutsu, then I will use jutsu. Ranko said just before doing a number of hand seals. Fire style. Grand fireball jutsu. She shot out a very large fireball and watched as it collided with the paper wall and exploded outward, but she forgot something. She is inside the box. When the dust receded, her clothes were tattered and torn with some burnt marks on her skin that were healing. I should have thought that through. Ranko said as she waved the dust away from her face. Would you keep it down? I'm trying to sleep over here. Ranko looked where the voice came from and saw Joe rubbing the sleep out of her eyes. If you want to do dangerous jutsu, you should go out back. Why don't you make me? Ranko said as Mei started taking steps back away from the soon-to-be doomed redhead. Joe walked towards the redhead as she cracked her knuckles. You asked for it. Joe said just before she summoned red flames in her hands and it grew to the size of the fireball she used to escape the paper box. Okay, we'll be quiet. Ranko said as she waved her hands in front of her to signal she isn't a threat. It worked because she saw Joe made the fireball disappear. Good, Joe said as she turned a left towards the couch she was sleeping on. I'm glad you saw it my way. Mei walked towards to the frozen Ranko, who is still looking where the girl with the huge fireball was standing. You forgot what happens to people who pisses her off, right? Ranko nodded as Mei had an arm around her neck. Well, we should go to the dojo and practice kenjutsu before supper is ready. Maybe being a natural disaster won't be that bad. Knowing Whirlpool. I still don't believe you. Ranko said as she sat on a chair looking directly at her grandfather Madara. What's there to believe? Madara asked his grandchild, who is looking at him questionably. I mean, you just so happened to walk out of Auntie Makoto's room in the middle of the night to get her some water, and in the morning Auntie Makoto looked like she is glowing. She shot back and pointed a finger at Makoto, who has a grin on her face, and true enough she looked glowing. I may be 8, but I am smart enough to know what conditions are met to make a woman glow like that. And your point is? Madara asked so innocently, and Ranko just wanted to scream at her grandfather's innocence. Sometimes I wonder if you're just acting or just being yourself. Ranko just said as Kagome put a plate of breakfast for her as she started chow down. I wonder how Itachi will act hearing this. She asked so innocently, just like her grandfather, that made him perk up. The most he would do is congratulates his mother, but that is highly unlikely knowing that someone slept with his mother. The most I can think up is that he will burn you with Amaterasu until your ashes turn to dust. You wouldn't? Madara looked at Ranko as if he was analyzing her. You would. Oh hey Itachi, guess what? She said to Itachi, who walked into the dinner room as Madara teleported away from the area at the first notice of Itachi. How long is he going to keep hiding this? Itachi asked his mother, who looked glowing and has on a genuine smile on her face. Until it stops being funny to see him run away. Makoto said as everyone started eating breakfast. I wonder how he would take the news. You haven't told him? Ranko asked Makoto as she shook her head no. I could guess he would either faint right where he stands or jump all over Whirlpool telling everyone he is going to be a father again. She said as she went back to eating. 2 years, nothing much has happened in 2 years besides the growing boredom in the academy or the incident with one of the academy instructors. She and Azuki had an unfortunate accident in her lab. An explosion left her bedridden for the rest of her life. What happened? Well, during one of her development weapons for her perfect Relian, she made a small miscalculation that resulted in an explosion that severely injured her. When she was recovered, she would never walk again or wake up for that matter. That is until Sasori saved her with his research that turned him into a puppet. He had Rin's assistance and implanted her heart into one of Shien's Relians and put it into it. His research was so complicated that Rin had doubts that Shien won't be the same, but somehow she recovered and is the same as before with a change of a body. Now she is in her Relian that could fight at a Chunin level. Other than that, all is going well. Ayane and Ranko's rivalry has grown after their first meeting. They practice taijutsu together until either one passes out from exhaustion. It was difficult for Ayane at first, but she got used to it after a few months of training. Ranko has been helping her develop an unpredictable taijutsu style that could not be seen by the Sharingan. It is a slow progress because Ranko has her Sharingan mastered, not to mention she has the Eternal Sharingan. She is going to go meet an Uchiha member who is their age to help Ayane out. Mei Uzumaki, the gambling princess, has been taking her deck of cards to a whole new level. With sealing and the ability to manipulate paper, well, let's just say that combination is dangerous enough as it is. She already created a few tricks with her deck of cards. For one, she has 6 suits: fire, lightning, wind, water, earth and chakra. Each suit has a different function, like fire is used for explosions and each number equals to the destruction from 2 to 10. The ace is the more destructive, jack being a time delay explosion, queen being a scatter cluster bomb, and king being a napalm bomb. The other suits are a mystery to the world, and let's not get into the jokers. Kasumi Mugen Tenchi has also taken a turn in her training. Her family's bloodline, or what people like to see it as, has taken an effect. Right now her chakra has taken in a color pink like a cherry blossom. Not only had that, she mastered the Kawarimi technique to a point that she no longer need hand seals. Sure, she lacks in taijutsu, but she makes up for it in ninjutsu. Ayane made sure that she will have enough chakra to do all the ninjutsu she could use. Haku Momochi, the pretty boy which Ranko likes to call him, has been learning how to use a sword, or to be precise, a zanbato like his father's. He's been practicing to make a katana out of ice and working his way up to a zanbato size. His training is going well, besides the fact that he has been looking after his newborn sister whenever he has free time. Rei Momochi is her name and she has black hair like Haku. The twins are Kauken and Kyoken have been, okay. Not annoying but tolerable. They soon started taking up their family art with the guitar, yeah guitar. Anyways, with a few strokes of the string they can conjure up lightning when they mix it up genjutsu and use the guitar like a battle axe. Strange clan the Ongaku are. Toshiro Hitsugaya. The glacier has already graduated from the academy at age 10 along with Tayuya Ongaku and Jo Jigoku. Tayuya is known as the Lightning Witch when she is on a mission. She got pissed off when she earned that name. Jo didn't seem to mind she earned the name of Hell Spawn. She got pissed off during a mission that she practically showed everyone hell during an outside mission. It seems that Toshiro is the only calm one in the team if you don't add in Jo's laziness. Kirika and Kiriko Uchiha have been busy in 2 years and taken 2 of the positions of a natural disaster. The two are outstanding medics that they are getting close to Rin Inuzuka's level and are the first two members to obtain the Mangekyo Sharingan without killing a best friend. They went into deep investigation of the Mangekyo after they unlocked it and discovered a few things. 1. They will still suffer from blindness if they use the Mangekyo. 2. To unlock the Mangekyo, the user must train the body as the eyes to unlock it, in other words work their damn asses off to unlock it, better than killing a friend. And 3. The second method of gaining the eternal Sharingan. The two didn't go in great depths in that subject yet, but they have a theory, but let's not go there yet. Kimimaro Kagaya and his clan are free from their disease that plagued their clan. Right now he is on missions that are only assigned to Akatsuki members and has taken a seat as a natural disaster with a rank of 1 with Kirika as 2 and Kiriko 3. They are the only members right now, and with more members the ranks may be changed, but everyone knew that Kimimaro will stay as rank 1. Kimimaru's jacket is a black cloak with a hood with red interior. The cloak is all torn up with the use of his clan's bone bloodline ability. Funny thing about the cloak that Kisame pointed out when Kimimaru has his bones tearing up the cloak. Just put the hood on and make a black veil over it to hide his face to make him mysterious, and add a scythe made of bones and you have the Shinigami in the flesh, which now earned him the name of Reaper. Kirika just wears a black hood coat with red interior and lining with a kanji of Death's assistant on the back. She has black hot pants and a red tank top with a mesh shirt over it to finish the look. She has a hidden holder for her senbons and throwing knives in her sleeves and a kunai pouch on her right thigh with black ninja sandals. Kiriko asked Kagome to make her a battle kimono that is just completely red. The sleeves are very loose to hide her ninja wire that she carries on. Her obi is completely made out of ninja wire that is added protection, or if she wanted to, use as a weapon. The kimono ends just above her upper thighs and that is about it. You can say that her battle dress is revealing, and it is. She has the art of seduction down to a science that she can turn anyone to mush, even woman. Anyways, all that is left is her jacket, which is a black haori with red interior like the other two with the kanji of Fate's string on the back in red. The Uchiha sisters are two of the deadliest and most dangerous if someone wants to fight them. Like medics, they stay out of fights, but they will kill you from the shadows. Not only they are beautiful and deadly, they are already taken, and he is no better if not deadlier than these two, lucky bastard. Where are Kiriko and Kirika? I haven't seen them in a while. Ranko asked Makoto, who had a thoughtful look. Over in the hospital. I am not backing down. Kiriko said in determination as she eyed what is in front of her. If I don't do this I will never be able to do this again. In front of her is a one-in-a-lifetime changes that could determine her lifestyle as her sister Kirika gave her comfort from the side. You got to make a decision now, Kiriko. Kakuzu said to her, making her hurry with her decision. Don't rush me. This is something that requires patience. Kiriko shot back as she took a deep breath and made her decision. I have a full house. She said as she pushed in the number amount of chips for the bet and tossed her cards on the table that are 3 jacks and 2 fours. Beat that brat. She pointed the finger in front of her, who happens to be Mei Uzumaki with a dealer cap on her head. Mei grinned up at her and showed Kiriko a straight flush 4 to 8 diamond. Oh come on. Kakuzu, she cheated. Kiriko shouted and pointed the accusing finger at Mei. What did we say about accusing people cheating? We are ninjas and it is in our nature to cheat, but there is absolutely no cheating in poker. Not to mention I had Nagato have a specially made deck to prevent the cards to be manipulated. Kakuzu said as he started organizing the chips. Okay, in the lead is Mei with 152,200 ryo. With Kiriko 126,500 ryo. Sasori 101,300 ryo. Yahiko 97,000 ryo, and I have 23,000 ryo, and Kirika is out of the game. Kakuzu counted and started shuffling the deck of cards. It's bad enough we are using an operating room for a gambling den. Kiriko said as she took a sip of an energy drink. No one uses this room. Sasori said in his monotone-like voice. Rin didn't mind. It is because she doesn't know about it. Kirika said to Sasori, who only shrugged and took a look at his cards. What she doesn't know won't hurt her. Kakuzu and Mei said, earning a sigh from the dock. I'm heading home, I need some sleep. See you in the next shift, sis. Kirika waved bye to her sister, who waved back, and she shunshin out of the room. Dad, shouldn't you be in the office right about now? Mei asked her father when she noticed what time it is. It's morning and they started playing after supper the other day and they had more people. This is what shadow clones are used for, hun. Yahiko said to his daughter as he made a shadow clone and sent it to the office, and then he looked over his cards. I bet 2,500 ryo and 2 cards. He said as he tossed away 2 cards and gained 2 cards. And mom wonders where I get my gambling habits from. Mei thought to herself and looked at her cards, and she had to inwardly smirk when she saw 4 queens in her hand. Best to make it look like I have nothing. She thought as she called her father's bet and tossed away a card to make it look like she is desperate. I'm out. Kiriko tossed her cards in the middle of the table face down. I raised to 5,000 ryo. Sasori tossed in the needed chips and got rid of 2 cards and gained 2 new cards. I'm out. Kakuzu said as he tossed in the cards. I call. Yahiko said as he tossed in 2,500 ryo. I raised to 10,000 ryo. Mei said as she tossed in 7,500 ryo to make up the bet. Really confident are you? Sasori stated as he looked over his cards and back to the chips. All in, he said as he pushed in all of his chips. You two are going down. All in. Yahiko pushed in all of his chips as well. Alright, I call. Mei said as she was now inwardly laughing at them. Full house, 3 jacks and 2 nines. Sasori showed his cards. Sorry Sasori, 4 of a kind 10s and an ace. Yahiko said as he had that grin on his face, having a higher hand. Sorry dad, but it looks like you're going to have to go do the paperwork yourself. Mei said, showing her 4 queens and a king, and she had to laugh at seeing her father's face drop from a grin to a jaw drop. Okay, whose turn to deal? She said as she started counting her chips. Yahiko had to sigh and rub his head, knowing he didn't have any sleep and is going to have to do the paperwork, but remembered about the shadow clone he sent. I'll just sleep on the couch. Back at the compound, they're probably busy with hospital duties right now? Makoto said as she went back to eating. So what are you doing for your day off? Well, I was going to go practice some genjutsu after I introduce Ayane to Shiger. Ranko said as she took a drink of OJ. Shiger, isn't she your age? Makoto asked the little girl, who nodded. I haven't seen her in a while. Isn't she in the academy? No, she graduated early and is remaining at Genin to be on the safe side. Makoto nodded, knowing that Genin are usually doing demeaning missions like chores, but Akatsuki made sure that the Genin are only training and doing outside missions with both a Chunin and Junin present. I asked her to help Ayane develop an unpredictable taijutsu that not even the Sharingan can predict. Makoto only nodded, remembering the Uchiha clan boasted about how the Sharingan can see through anything. Oh, how blind they were. You can ask Itachi for some advice. He already figured out some weakness of the Sharingan. Makoto suggested and looked over to her son, who only nodded. Really, like what? Ranko asked, wondering how to cover some weakness. 1. The Sharingan can be blinded. It can't see in the dark, and it is possible to blind the Sharingan with mist. Itachi pointed out and had a thoughtful look as he rested his elbows on the table, resting his chin on his hands. You can also shorten the hand seals so a technique can't be copied or you don't voice them. One more weakness is that your body has to keep up with what the Sharingan is showing you. If your body can't keep up with what it is showing, then you are not able to keep up. That's about it? Ranko asked as Itachi nodded. I could ask Zabuza-sensei to teach me the silent killing to cover the blindness and just keep training with Ayane in taijutsu. That's about it, Itachi said as he took a stick of poke from his pocket and started eating it. Where do you keep hiding those? Makoto asked her son, who only shrugged and went back to eating. After Ranko finished eating her breakfast, she went to find Ayane in the compound. When she came across the Hitsugaya side of the compound, she came to sight with Kasumi and Haku studying a scroll each. Hey, you two, you know where Ayane is? Ranko asked the two. She's still sleeping, Kasumi said, not looking up from her scroll, which is labeled Chakra Theory. I'd wake her, but my cheek still hurts from last time. Haku said as he rubbed his cheek that has a horrible red handprint from the other day. She's strong when she wants to be. That's what you get for walking in a girl's room. Kasumi snickered from behind her scroll. How was I supposed to know she sleeps naked? Haku grumbled as he continued to read his scroll, which is labeled Shape Manipulation. She sleeps naked? Ranko asked as Kasumi nodded. I thought Kiriko was the only one who sleeps naked. She's not the only one I know who sleeps naked, Kasumi said as she rolled up her scroll. Haku's mom sleeps naked, she asked, gaining Haku's attention. She does not sleep naked. Haku shouted, defending his mother and abandoning his scroll. Right. Zabuza-sensei, does Shiki-san sleeps naked? Kasumi asked her father figure, who stopped feeding his daughter to look over at the trio. Yeah, she does sleeps naked. Why do you want to know? Zabuza asked, not caring if he tells the kids about bed stuff. Oh, just wondering. Zabuza only nodded and went back to feeding his daughter. A demon he may be, but a father to a daughter and a son he is. See Haku, your mom sleeps naked, she said, seeing a blushing Haku stuttering for a comeback, leaving Renko with a sweat drop, wondering how the conversation went from asking where Ayane is to who sleeps naked. I'll go wake her up, Renko said, wanting to get out of a conversation about who sleeps in what and who doesn't sleep with what on. When she got to her room, and true enough, Ayane sleeps naked. How am I going to do this? Renko thought on how to wake her up. She could go with her grandfather's way of waking people up, but she doesn't have a bucket of ice-cold water. Making loud noise will just make her look like an idiot. Then she went with how Kagome waked her up and just nudge her awake. Outside. Why are we still on this subject? Haku asked, annoyed about the conversation about who sleeps naked that turned to why people sleep naked. Kasumi was about to say something but stopped. You know what? I really don't know. Haku's face faulted to the ground and brought himself up to shout at her, but slap. Looks like Sis's reflexes kicked in, Kasumi said as she went back to reading her scroll, and Haku felt a shadow of pain in his cheek when he heard that slap. Later on. So where are we going? Ayane asked Renko, who was walking ahead of her and didn't answer her. Why are you not talking to me? Renko stopped in her tracks to let Ayane catch up and lift her long red bangs from her face to show a very red handprint on her cheek. Because of this, she glared a bit at Ayane and just sighed and swallowed up her anger. I should have thought that through. You're not the first one, Ayane said, remembering how she slapped Haku across the face. It was a reflex and you know it. Renko nodded and went back to the Uchiha side of the compound and found Shiger practicing beating a pole. Yo Shiger, here is Ayane I was telling you about. Renko introduced Ayane to Shiger. The girl is your typical Uchiha with the black hair that is long with a ponytail and onyx eyes. Is this the girl you mentioned? Shiger asked Renko, who nodded as she started looking Ayane up and down, side to side. Taijutsu specialist straight up, she said, which confused Ayane. Your body structure, it is meant for hard-pressed assault. Basically you are a walking tank minus the huge muscles. You balance out your speed and strength and use your speed to strengthen your attacks to make you lethal in close range. She finished. You got that by just analyzing me? Ayane asked skeptically and amazed. No, Renko told me. Ayane's face faulted hearing that. She also said I will be helping you out with making a taijutsu style to be unpredictable. From what Renko told me, you're using your family's taijutsu style and wanted to make one that will fit you because the current taijutsu style doesn't work for you. Shiger said as she thought it through. Ayane nodded with the information that was given. The style I am using is only meant to be used by the men and I don't have the body structure. Wait a minute, Ayane said, gaining the two Uchiha and Uzumaki's attention. Why am I asking help from someone who is our age? She asked as Shiger only grinned at her. Because Ms. Tenchi, I am what you call the next Itachi. She said to the purple-haired girl who only looked more confused. She's a genius. Renko summarized it up for Ayane, who now understood. She would have been the next Itachi, but the clan wanted her to take it easy. We all know how close Itachi was from snapping back then, she said as Shiger nodded. Right now, and I know I sound like I'm bragging, I am about Chunin level, but still Genin. Shiger said as Ayane nodded. Anyways, the reason I am helping you out is because my Sharingan isn't developed. I still have it at 1 tomo. Shiger said, carefree as it is a normal conversation. You sound like you don't care about the Sharingan. Ayane stated as Shiger nodded. I don't like using it. Sure, I could learn faster, but what is the point of learning things quickly while I could master them properly? Besides, with my 1 tomo Sharingan I could help you be unpredictable. Shiger said to Ayane, who now nodded and looked eagerly. But now is not the time. What? Why not? Ayane asked Shiger, wondering why she is not helping her. Are you crazy? I am on my day off. Shiger said as she went back to beating a pole post. Be you, but you're training right now. Ayane said to Shiger, who stopped beating a post. I may be on my break, but I can't stop my morning routine just because I am on a day off. She said as she went back to beating the pole post. Come on, Ayane. Renko said as she began dragging Ayane away from Shiger. We're on our day off, so we should take today off, and that is her way of spending a day off. Both of the girls were walking around the compound just minding their own business until Ayane remembered something. Wasn't there a third Uchiha that is about our age? She asked as Renko sighed at the subject. Yup, but that person is not talked about within the Uchiha clan. Renko said as Ayane looked curious. Sasuke Uchiha. Never heard of him. Ayane said as she looked ahead seeing Kagaya kids playing. You wouldn't. Sasuke is an embodiment of arrogance and superiority, or in short an ass. Renko said, not liking the subject. He's Makoto's son, so where is he? Ayane asked Renko, who kept quiet for a second. He was left behind in Konoha, believing that the Uchiha are wiped out. She said as she stopped and sat down underneath a tree with Ayane. Sasuke's father, who I don't know his name, has imprinted that Uchihas are far superior to anyone in the world and everyone around him is beneath him. He was left behind because he will only destroy the Uchiha clan from the inside. Why didn't they just kill him? Ayane asked about the arrogant punk. Can you kill your own son or brother? Renko asked Ayane, who only shook her head no. Itachi wasn't able to kill him, neither Auntie Makoto. Madara spared him just to let Auntie and Itachi to be at peace and declared that no one within the Uchiha clan will kill another Uchiha. So it is up to us to kill him then. Ayane said, summarizing it up. If it comes up to that, then yes. Renko said as she began to enjoy sitting underneath a tree. I'm hungry. Ayane whined to Renko, who only groaned as her stomach answered for her. I guess I could go for an early lunch, she said as both went to the nearest kitchen, which is the Uchiha side. When they got to the kitchen they were greeted with the sight of a seething Kiriko. Renko knew that this is bad news, so she inched away from Kiriko as Kagome entered, seeing her daughter in a bad mood. Why the bad mood, dear? Kagome asked her daughter, whose mood lightened up seeing her mother. I lost my money. She cried out and started crying in her mother's arms as she started to soothe her. Back away slowly, Renko whispered to Ayane as both left the kitchen and went to find another kitchen that they could find something to eat. What happened to her? Renko just shrugged her shoulders, muttering, I dunno. We could go back to my place, Ayane suggested as both agreed with that. When they got there they saw Haku and Zabuza training, as Haku had a blindfold on with both holding a stick in their hands. Both watched as Haku blocked strikes and swipes from Zabuza as he tried to hit Haku with a wooden stick. Silent kill training? Renko asked as Zabuza swiped for Haku's legs as he jumped over the swipe. This is just the basics of the silent kill, Zabuza said as he gave Haku a break. Makoto came by and asked if I should train you, and I don't mind having more students, even if Toshiro, Tayuya and Joe are not enough. Zabuza is the now a Junin sensei for Toshiro, Tayuya and Joe ever since Makoto got pregnant and taking it easy. I still have 4 more months until Madara figures out that Makoto is pregnant. He thought about the betting pool that is going on. So what brought you two back here so early? We got hungry, Renko said to Zabuza as he looked up to the sky. Yeah, it's about lunchtime, Zabuza said, leaving the trio wondering how he could tell the time by just looking up in the sky. Shiki and Kasumi are making lunch right now. It will take some time till they finish with lunch. We can start off with the basics. He took out 2 more blindfolds for the two. Best get this over with early. Later on, Haku-chan, lunchtime, Shiki said as she brought out a huge bowl of soup as Kasumi carried out a plate full of sandwiches. Both came to the site with Ayane and Renko trading punches and kicks with blindfolds over their eyes. Are we interrupting, dear? Shiki asked Zabuza, gaining his attention. No, we are just finishing up, he said as he told the two to stop. You two take this up like an assassin using a butterfly knife, he complimented as he went to the table to help himself. You kids should dig up as well, Shiki said to the kids as they started eating lunch. I hear Ayane got you good across the face as well. Ayane had the decency to look sorry as Renko glared over to Ayane, remembering about the handprint over her right cheek. She didn't look sorry when she slapped me, Haku muttered as he took a bite out of a sandwich. I'll tell you why later, boy, Zabuza whispered to his son as he nodded. Your face looks fine right now, Shiki said as she looked over Renko's face. Fast healing, dear? She asked as Renko nodded. She went easy on you. Haku-chan here suffered from chakra enhancement. Now Ayane looked proud at her accomplishment, which earned a glare from Haku. It still stings, Haku muttered while eating his soup. After lunch, After Renko finished her lunch and said her thanks, she went back to wander around the compound until she came across Joe Jigoku. "You really are a lazy ass, aren't you?" Renko stated as she looked down to a sleeping Joe sleeping around on a couch with 2 pizza boxes on the floor with a spicy hot sauce bottle on the side. Don't blame her for her laziness, but blame her bloodline. Renko turned to an exact replica of Joe, but with longer silver hair tied in a ponytail that cascades across her back right down to her knees. She has tan brown skin with an hourglass figure and is wearing only a tight tank top and panties. Our bloodline burns a lot of chakra and we are required to sleep as much as possible and eat as much. You can say we have high metabolism, she said to Renko, who nodded. Name's Ro Jigoku, the clan head. Renko Uzumaki, Whirlpool Princess. Renko introduced herself as Ro nodded. What's this about sleeping as much as possible? The ability to use Inferno has its drawbacks, like the need to sleep. Ro started as she sat beside a sleeping Joe. As you can see here, she pointed to Joe and the stack of pizza boxes and over to the hot sauce. The pizza is just food, but she ate 2 boxes worth, which is normal for us, she said as she opened up a box to see one remaining slice and took it and started eating it. The hot sauce is just a craving we have with food. Renko only nodded, not telling her she not once gone over with the Jigoku bloodline. Anyways, the use of Inferno has a drawback with our bodies. We burn away excess fat, unwanted calories, foreign substance like poisons and heated up bodies, which is why we wear less as much clothing as possible, she said, pointing to her only clothing that covers little. So your clan's drawbacks are wearing revealing clothing and eat as much as you want. That would make any woman envious of you. Renko summarized as Ro nodded, looking tired as she yawns. What about her explosive moments? Renko asked, remembering the times Joe went berserk and literally raised hell. Let's just say, don't piss us off, Ro said with an edge in her voice that made Renko nod her head, not wanting to face her wrath. I also noticed that there aren't any men in your clan, Renko asked, not seeing a dude with the Jigoku name. We came from an Amazon tribe, Ro said as she rested her head against the couch arm. We developed a seal that would allow a woman get another woman pregnant without the need of a man, and we sometimes give the seal to couples. Any more questions to satisfy your curiosity? She asked as Renko just shook her head no. You said you came from an Amazon tribe, right? Ro nodded her head, waiting for Renko's question. Is there more of these tribes? Yes, you must have realized that Amazons aren't from the elemental country, right? Renko nodded, wanting to know more about the origin of the Jigoku family. First of all, the Jigoku name isn't our tribe's original name. Where we came from there are 4 main tribes with minor tribes. Like the villages? Renko asked as Ro nodded. Yes, just like the villages, and we were in a constant war. The 4 main tribes are the Cloud Runners, Landwalkers, Sea Divers and Fire Wielders, Ro said as a woman entered the room that looked tanned with long sandy blonde hair with light violet eyes. She walked to the miniature fridge and took a water bottle and left the room. She is from one of the minor tribes we picked up on the way here. Anyways, our grandmothers got tired of the war and left the land after the other 3 tribes exiled them, losing their tribe's name. Then we came across the elemental country and met your grandfather and joined his village. So you're from the Fire Wielder tribe? Renko asked about their ability to use Inferno. No, my great-grandparents were either from the Cloud Runners and the Fire Wielders tribe. You can say that we're the results of crossbreeding the tribes. When we entered the elemental country, we took the name of Jigoku with our ability to use Inferno. She stopped as she eyed Joe for a second and looked up at a clock. Would you excuse me, I have to get some sleep before I am sent on a mission, she said as she bowed and left the living room. Mom left? Renko heard Joe ask, faking being asleep. I think she knew you weren't sleeping. Joe only shrugged and sat up and opened a pizza box, seeing it empty. She took my last slice. She glared where Ro used to be and just yawned. I guess she needed it more than me. What are you doing here? Just wandering around. Joe only nodded and stretched before she stood up and left the living room before Renko stopped her and motioned to her state of clothing, which is just an oversized shirt. After a change of clothes, okay, just some shorts later. Both girls went to find something to keep their eyes open, or in Joe's case, I've never been here before, Renko said as she noticed the place seemed so shady. This is the Ongaku side, Joe said in a monotone like tone voice. You twits are doing it all wrong. Both heard a man's voice down the hall near a private backyard that each clan side had their own backyard. When they got there they saw a man dressed in a black trench coat with frilled on the arms with some chains around his neck with rings on his fingers that ranged from ruby to gold and has long mid-length black hair over the side of his face and back. He is also wearing red-tinted circle shades. He is also with the two twins as both have a guitar in their hands that has the strings look like they are electrified with a little red head with a bass guitar in her hands. This is how you swing a fucking guitar. The man said as he took the little girl's bass guitar and swings it backhandedly at Kyokan and Kaukan hitting both at the same time and sent them flying away both hitting a wall. Now keep practicing Mar and you can have extra dessert for supper. He encouraged as the little girl beamed hearing extra portions of dessert. Now how can I help our guests? He said as he looked over the two girls. Ah, the Jigoku heiress and the Whirlpool princess, how can I help you? The name is Makura Ongaku and this here is Mar Ongaku. Nice to meet you, Ranko said as Joe nodded to Makura. We are just wandering around on our day off and she motioned to the twins who were groaning as they sat up from the blow to the head from the man. Don't worry about those twits, they got what they got coming for. He just waved those two aside not minding that he just bashed the two over the head with a bass guitar. What is with your clan and guitars? This is something that plagued her mind from the moment she saw the twins started carrying guitars over their backs. Ah, curious one are you? Well, my clan are from Kumo. The Ongaku clan specialize in genjutsu and we have a high affinity to lightning. The guitars are our tools and weapons. The men use them like axes. Makura said as he put his right hand into his jacket and pulled out a guitar in a shape of a V that looked very sharp colored black and purple. The woman also uses a guitar, either a bass or a regular one. Mar would be mind. The little girl nodded as she held her guitar by the wires and jerked it as the guitar shifted into a scythe. This is my weapon, I call it Kuro Ansokubi. Mar said as she shifted the black scythe into a bass guitar. Our clan originated from Kumo man and we worked our asses off for the village. We trained, created many ninjutsu, genjutsu, both taijutsu and kenjutsu. Even music, fucking beautiful music man. He said as he wrapped an arm around Mar's shoulder and pumped his fist. But did the rakage cared? Nah, bunch of wankers I tell ya. He said as he flipped the bird at the mention of wankers. Our clan got tired of not being appreciated and left Kumo when the fucking rakage has ordered to have our clan turned into a fucking breeding factory man. I see where Tayuya gets her mouth. Ranko whispered to Joe who nodded. Where's Tayuya? Joe asked wondering where her teammate is. She is with her mother taking the clan's rite of passage into the clan to gain the summoning scroll. Makura said as both of the girls wondered what they had to do to gain the clan's summoning scroll. You have to bite the head off of a fucking bat to gain the bat summoning contract. He said to the two how grimaced as Ranko shivered hearing about a flying rat. Well, I have to go to the library to study genjutsu. Ranko said wanting to get away from the Ongaku clan area. Genjutsu you say, we specialize with genjutsu man. Mar forget practice, you earned extra dessert if you take Miss Uzumaki to the Ongaku scrolls. Mar pumped her fist and began dragging Ranko to the libraries. Joe, I believe you can give this to your mother on your way back. He gave Joe a scroll as the girl nodded and went back to her couch. Later on, I have to admit you guys really know how to make genjutsu. Ranko said really impressed seeing the notes of the Ongaku's clan genjutsu. I'm still working on the bringer of darkness technique. It is our clan's way of saying that we can master any genjutsu if we master it. Mar said as she too was reading on genjutsu. But most of them require the use of a guitar and I doubt I will be able to do most of them. Ranko sighed as she rolled up a scroll and put it away. Thanks for the help anyways, Mar. The little girl nodded as she went back to reading. Going already, dear? A woman's voice said behind Ranko's shoulder that made her scream out loud. Now that is a scream. Ranko turned around to see a woman with red long hair with orange-like eyes wearing a black kimono that shows off her shoulders, upper chest, outer thighs and her hip curves. What's wrong, dear? You look like you've seen a ghost. She asked seductively to Ranko that made her shiver. I just never had someone sneak on me like that. Ranko said to the woman who only smiled at her that made her shiver again. I gotta go now, she said as she took off leaving an after image behind. Mom, quit scaring the guest. Mar whined seeing another person running away from her mother. Sorry honey, I couldn't resist. the woman said as she shooed her daughter back to the library. With Ranko. She shivered after she got away from that woman. Met my mother, I see her damsel. Ranko turned around again to see the same person that was behind, only younger. Was she hitting on me? Tayuya only burst out laughing hearing this. My mom has a habit of messing with people outside of the clan, and let me guess, she made you very uncomfortable. Tayuya asked as Ranko nodded as she blushed. My mother is an expert in the art of seduction, master in the clan arts and the mistress of the bats. Her name is Nevin Ongaku. Tayuya said, sounding very proud of being her daughter. What a reputation she got there. Ranko muttered as she walked away as Tayuya followed her. So you have been wandering around the compound meeting other clans? Tayuya asked as Ranko nodded, remembering her early on that she looked after the Kagaya kids when she was sitting underneath a tree. Well, you didn't meet Ice Cube's parents. Ranko first thought of Toshiro at the mention of Ice Cube. But I advise you not to go meet them. I swear I must have been talking to a block of ice. I'll just go take a nap before supper is ready. Ranko said as she walked back to the Uchiha side of the clan as Tayuya went back to her side of the compound. When she got there, she instantly flopped down on the couch and went to sleep. Honey, supper is ready. She heard someone said to her in her sleep as she felt a nudge and instantly knew that it was Kagome who was waking her up. 10 more years. Ranko muttered in her sleep as she rolled over only to fall off the couch. Ow, come on honey, supper is ready. Kagome motioned to the kitchen as Ranko began to get the sleep out of her eyes. Sleeping Beauty finally woken up. Shiger said, grinning as Ranko only took a seat to look over her supper. Not enough energy to shoot a comeback. Shiger said as Ranko only yawned. Wow, no adrenaline today I see. That's what happens when you don't do some workout. Makoto said as she started eating her supper. Gramps still hiding? Ranko asked as everyone in the room nodded as they ate. After supper, Ranko glared at her opponent and back to the shogi board. She didn't know what to do. Her opponent knows all of her moves and plans when it comes to shogi. With situations like this, she would have to think of new moves and plans, but her opponent can think of the same thing, so she has to be unpredictable that she wouldn't think of, but that's impossible. How can she think of moves that she wouldn't think of? Sighing to herself, she moves her knight to take down a rook. Nice try, but you lost this match. Her opponent said as her opponent took down a key piece and trapped her king. Check. Ranko looked at her king to find a move and only saw one, but thought ahead and saw checkmate. Damn it, language young lady. Kagome sternly said as her opponent gave her a cheeky grin and poofed out of existence. I find it funny to see someone losing to their own shadow clone. Shiger snickered as she read a book on a couch. Can it Shiger? Ranko said with an edge in her voice she learned from RO that thankfully shut Shiger up a bit. She then received the memories of her shadow clone that thought of strategies that it used and grumbled how her shadow clones seemed so motivated to beat the original. She then did another shadow clone and set up the pieces for another match. Again, this will be the 17th time you are going to lose against your own shadow clone. Shiger said as she looked over her book to see Ranko's shadow clone grinning up a storm and figured out that Ranko is going to lose against her own shadow clone. Again, for the 17th time. Why are you playing against your own shadow clone again? Ranko grumbled as she lost the first piece of the match. Gramps said something, if my opponent can read my next move, I should think of another move that even I wouldn't think of. She groaned again at another loss of piece. And yet your shadow clone is defeating you. Shiger said as Ranko lost another piece after she took a shadow clone. Oh come on. Ranko yelled out as she lost a key piece that would determine the match. Yup, definitely funny. Shiger said as she continued to read her book while listening to the voice of dismay from Ranko that sounds like music to her ears. Night. Ranko is reading a book in bed when she heard a scream that woke all of the Uchiha members and anyone nearby. She followed the sound and saw her grandfather, with his pants off as Itachi, Makoto, Kagome and Kirika were holding him down on a table. Huh, what's going on? Ranko asked as Madara was trying to get out of the three's grip. Madara was hiding in some forest and a bug entered his body. Itachi said as he pointed to Madara's foot that has a small bubble. What the hell is going? Whoa, what the hell is that? Zabuza walked in with Haku beside him in their sleeping clothes, which is just pants, and Haku has on a shirt for modesty, and both saw the bubble on Madara's foot. Where were you hiding to get that? Madara got a bug in him. Makoto said as Kirika was examining the bug. From what I am seeing, it is a parasite. Not sure which type or kind. Only an Aburame will know what kind it is. Oh boy, this is not good. This got everyone's attention as Madara started panicking. It's heading up the leg. Kirika said as the bubble on Madara's foot started to rise up along the leg. Do something. Madara said as he tried to move but was held down. We're going to have to cut your leg off. Kirika said to Kiriko, who nodded, only to have Madara to try to run away but was held down. It was a good thing Kirika snuck a sedative in Madara while he was panicking, or they would have a hard time holding him down. You are not cutting my leg off. Madara yelled, not wanting to lose a leg. We don't even know what this bug is. For all we know is that it eats you from the inside out. Kiriko said as she looked at the bubble that is the bug and noticed a slight turn in direction. It's heading to the genitals. She blushed and turned away when she said that. Madara, Itachi, Zabuza and Haku all shared the same look when she said that. Take it, take the leg, Madara said as he brandished a sword for Kiriko to use to cut his leg off, and everyone couldn't help but sweat drop seeing Itachi and Zabuza offering their swords. Hang on. Kiriko looked at the bubble in Madara's skin. It's heading in the other direction, flip him over. With Zabuza's help they were able to flip him over. Ah kids, you wouldn't want to be here for this. Kagome said as she took the kids out of the room, but Ranko took a one last peek to notice Kiriko taking out tongs and stood behind Madara. Yeah, best to leave. Ranko said as she went up to her room and did a silence jutsu in her room to block out the screams. 3 days later. So this is what was inside Gramps. Ranko said as she looked inside of a container that has a bug that was inside Madara that was removed from him last night. The bug looked like some kind of larva. Why are we here? She asked Conan, who is dressed in normal civilian clothing with a mix of shinobi clothing along with her and Mei. They were also in the middle of nowhere. We sent a mission request to Konoha to request some Aburame to examine the bug. Conan said as she was molding a paper into a bird and sent it flying away. It might be possible if that bug is poisonous, so it is better to be safe than sorry. Mei said as she was shuffling her deck of cards. Excuse me. The three Uzumakis turned to the voice to see man with black hair and shades dressed in a coat that covers his mouth. Are you Conan Uzumaki who has asked for us? Yes, I'm Conan Uzumaki, and this is my daughter Mei Uzumaki and niece Ranko Uzumaki. Who might the little guy be? Conan introduced herself and the two while asking for the little kid beside the Konoha nin who looks just like him, only miniature. This is my son Shino and my name is Shibi Aburame. He introduced himself as Shino nodded to them. You wanted to have a bug examined. Yes, one of our members had a bug inside him that entered through the skin and through the muscles. We didn't know what the bug is or if it is poisonous, so we requested an Aburame because of your expertise in bugs. Conan said as Shibi nodded. A logical decision. There are many unknown bugs out there and they could be dangerous. Shibi said as Conan motioned for Ranko to bring the bug. This was inside Gramps before they took it out. Ranko said as she took a milk bottle that has the alive bug inside. We didn't have the right equipment to contain it, so we had to work with what we had at the time, and we thought it would be best to have it alive for you guys to look at. Shibi motioned for his son to get the bug. Shino looked at the bug in the milk container. It's not poisonous. Shino said that made Ranko to release her breath in relief. However, this bug has empty containers which are a sign that she laid her eggs. This caused Ranko to perk up and has a worried expression. Shino gave the bottle to his father to examine the bug. Shino is right, but it laid its eggs weeks ago. You don't have to worry about eggs inside your grandfather. Shibi reassured Ranko, who released another breath of relief. Is this all? Conan nodded to this. Keep the bug. Gramps wants that bug far away as possible after what he went through. Ranko said as she digs into her pocket for the mission money and handed it the Aburame. Is this everything? Yes, the mission is complete and thank you for the bug. She will be a valuable collection within our clan. Shibi said as he took out a container that the Aburame used to contain bugs and put the little bug in it. He nodded to them and turned with his son in tow. Well, let's go kids. Conan said as she began walking towards a small town that is said to be a hot spring town. Hey Mei, Gramps found out that Makoto is pregnant. Ranko said to Mei, who had on a hurtful look. Oh no, I had him for next month. Mei sighed as she took out a booklet and a scroll. When and how did he found out? Well, Aunt Makoto had to distract him with something when he had tongs shoved up his ass. Ranko. Conan stopped Ranko from finishing that word. Sorry, anyways that was 3 days ago. Ranko said as May nodded and looked over her notebook. Let's see the winner is. Ku? Who in Kami's name is Ku? May asked as the scroll in her hand was taken from her hand by her mother. Thank you May, Conan said as she released the scroll and manipulated them and then started counting them. Alright kids, let's go pamper ourselves. Conan gleefully said as she walked towards that town that is a resort. May, I thought that you got your gambling habits from Yahiko. Ranko stated confused as May only nodded. I thought so too, she said as she put away her booklet and sighed. And mom blames dad for my gambling habits. Whirlpool. Makoto is happily smiling as she carried a plate full of food for Madara. She reached Madara's doorroom and noticed that damage that Ranko has caused it. Flashback. Ranko dear, can you take Madara's food up to his room? Makoto asked Ranko, who nodded and took the plate and went up to Madara's room. With Madara, he isn't having much of a day ever since he had that bug ripped out of his ass. After that he had a hard time walking with a shadow of pain in each step, so he is bedridden for the rest of the week with a comforter to relieve some pain. Gramps opened the door. I got your supper, Ranko said as she knocked on the locked door. Madara groaned as he sat up from his bed and painfully walked towards the door with a limp as he held his ass while walking, trying to restrain the pain. He would have just unlocked the door and accepted his supper, but there was one problem with Madara: he is high off painkillers. Who is it? Madara asked as he stood in front of the door and rubbed his eyes trying to get rid of his dizziness. Gramps, it's me, I got your supper, Ranko said a bit impatient as she held Madara's supper. Who? Madara shouted from the other side of the door. It's me Ranko. Open the door. Ranko held the plate in one hand and started banging the door. Who? Ranko now has a tick mark on her head. Ranko, she shouted, getting very annoyed. Ranko, Madara said, and Ranko felt relieved that Gramps figured out that she is waiting. Yes, it's me, Ranko. Open the door, she said while she waited for Gramps to open the door. Ranko's not here. Ranko's right eye began to twitch dangerously. No, I'm Ranko, she shouted a bit louder as she started banging the door. Ranko, yes, it's me Ranko. She started to release killing intent as she began to yell out louder and increased her strength with the banging and started kicking the door. Ranko, yes, open the door. She waited for Gramps to open the door, just waiting. Ranko's not here. Ranko heard steps moving away from the door and she unconsciously started releasing killing intent that the whole compound felt it. End flashback. Makoto walked into Madara's room, seeing him all bruised up from the beating Ranko gave him. She sure gave a good beating. Makoto snickered as she walked up to Madara's bed and placed his meal on a tray. I haven't seen a girl that mad since Kushina's mother was giving birth to her. She even threatened me to rib my balls off with an ice pick. Madara shivered as Makoto smiled that made Madara think of what threat Makoto will make about castrating him when she gives birth to his second child. I'm going to have to increase her training. Makoto didn't have to figure out who he was talking about. How strong is she now? Makoto asked as she poked a bruise that caused Madara to yelp in pain. Ranko? Madara rubbed where Makoto poked that it still stings. 8 years old, and I would have to say she would be a genin right now, she's still young. Makoto nodded. Kagome is still wondering if she could teach Ranko modesty. Makoto stated with a casual look that made Madara raise an eyebrow. I know, she's still trying to get her tomboyish personality out of her. She sighed and respected Kagome for trying to get Ranko's tomboy attitude out of her and teach her to be a kunoichi. She won't like learning seduction, Madara stated, and felt pity for the person who is going to teach her that subject. She won't have to, she's already learning. Makoto said that made Madara think. You're going to have to explain. Madara asked Makoto only to see her smirk that he didn't like not one bit and made him shiver as she started to lean closer to Madara right next his ear. My housewife clothes aren't the only reason I wear it. Makoto smiled as she left Madara's room, leaving him in a gaze until he figured out that Kagome purposely made Ranko wear those clothes. They weren't meant to protect her, he thought it was the main point. But now that he thought about Ranko is getting comfortable wearing those kind of clothings, and with her attitude she will be leaving so many people, both men and women, high up to dry. Most of all, Makoto left him high and dry. That's just mean Makoto.
That's all for now. If you want to see next part, then please like this video and subscribe my channel. Thank you.